Well, Mr. Sakas, George Sakas, welcome to Destination Aviation. Is that Greek, Sakas?
Sakas is Greek.
It is. You know, the fascinating thing about this podcast is I get to learn so much about people.
Well, Sakas is actually not necessarily Greek, but my mother's maiden name was Argyropoulos.
That sounds very Greek.
Once you put an opoulos on the end of it, everyone knows.
Everybody knows it's
Everybody knows.
So we know each other.
Yes.
Actively. You're the first person on the podcast that we actively are in a situation together.
I walked a whole 30 feet to get
30 feet to get over here. Look at that. And you're also here with the new equipment. So thank you for that. Everywhere new equipment. So
I'm the equipment guinea pig.
You've been since day one. So thank you for that.
All the worse.
You have.
In this room, in fact, no.
No, you haven't. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, George. Appreciate it. I know that you are on a time crunch, right? You're going to limit our time, if I remember right.
Well, as much as I diligently follow Destination Aviation.
Oh, sure.
Your record is 3 hours and 17 minutes.
Whew.
At 3 hours and 16 minutes, I'm out of here because I got to work because I have a boss that's really.
He's a jerk.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, he's just diligent. He just doesn't want me taking that much time off for work.
Well, and I think the thing too is, I mean, the other one that was 3 hours, that was in a car. I mean, you can be a lot more comfortable in a vehicle.
Yeah, but that doesn't make for a good story.
It doesn't. No. Well, thank you for coming on. Now, talk a little bit about history, but, we're a pretty laid back show here, so you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But typically up front, people that watch the show that maybe either don't know anything about aviation may want to know exactly what you do. So what is it that you do currently, and how did you get into it?
Well, yeah, I tell the story pretty often. I've been here at Chicago Executive Airport for going on 88 years.
80 years.
8 years.
8 years.
I'm fighting the cold. 80. Well, we're 100 years old.
Ooh, look at
my
that.
centennial shirt.
Thank you.
Funny part about that is I've been here 8 years. I know exactly what percentage of Chicago executives' history I've been here. I've been here 8% of the time.
Hey, look at that.
There you go.
That's nice. It's a nice setup.
When I got the job, my son was he's going to be 20 real quick. So he was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
And he said, "Dad, does this new job mean that you're going to tear down old hangars and build new hangars?" And I said, that's pretty close to what I do. If you had to explain it to a 12-year-old, pretty close to what I do. I tear down old hangars and I build new hangars.
It's not a bad thing considering that everybody always says we're in a hangar crunch right now. So,
well, we have a lot of hangars that need tearing down.
But aviation wasn't your original job, right? You weren't in this.
No, I've kind of weaved in a path parallel to aviation.
You're doing the weave?
I did the weave.
You did the weave.
I was in the Army, and when I get tours here, because people say, "Were you a pilot?" And I say, "No, our executive director is a pilot. I am not a pilot. Sort
of.
It's a tour. I got to be nice.
Ask Maria. She'd probably be like,
be nice to the boss.
I appreciate that.
I say, I drove a tank in the Army. That's the opposite of being a pilot. But that being said, yeah, I was in tanks, but tanks and the units that I was in had air cavalry helicopters attached to it. And then I worked for very early in my career when I wasn't in the military. I worked for the Army Corps of Engineers. And the minute you say Army Corps of Engineers, everyone thinks about water. There are two Army Corps of Engineers. One does all the dams and locks and everything. And the other Army Corps of Engineers does military base operations. I worked in military base operations. In fact, I worked at the Pentagon. My dad would go and tell all his buddies at the coffee shop, "Oh, my son works at the Pentagon." I'm like, "Dad, it's a huge office."
But I think you had told me this story before. You were where you would go on break was pretty close to where the aircraft went in on 9/11, right? That was close to where you would congregate.
My wife called me at work at the time, and she said, an airplane at the Pentagon, when all of us knew where we were on 9/11, an airplane at the Pentagon, and it's right by the helipad. And I wasn't in the outer ring. The Pentagon is, the more important you are, the further out you are on the ring. So that's ring 5. I was in ring 4.
Yeah.
But the assistant secretary of the Army was ring 5, and we would go to that conference room, and every time, back then, every time a helicopter would land, we would look out the window and go, "Oh, was it Colin Powell? Is it Arnold Schwarzkopf? Is it President Bush? Is it, that
Yeah,
sort
right.
of thing.
Seems
So
fair.
when it, fortunately, everyone I knew and I kept up with
Yeah.
got out without serious injury or death. But
Because you were gone by the time that happened.
that was long gone.
Yeah.
The sad thing, sad thing. At the end of that hallway, right where it hit, was Eisenhower's field office from Europe.
Oh, wow.
The Eisenhower
Wow.
family and museum had donated that to the Pentagon, and it was in a glass case. It had everything that he had. I mean, it was a field
Yeah.
office. It wasn't anything, but
Right.
it had a picture of Mamie Eisenhower and his pens and his.
Authentic. It was
Yeah,
actually
it was
from
authentic. It's
it was
exactly
it
what he
was
had, and that obviously that was incinerated. And
yeah.
the hallway next to that was the Hall of Heraldry. Every time you see a military unit, they have all these banners.
Yeah.
The official banners are in the Hall of Heraldry, and that was it. So the official, I mean, that was like, I mean, here you can reprint flags, and that's as long as no one got hurt, which people did get hurt. No one in the office that I knew, but that was an event. Fortunately, I wasn't involved in that aviation event.
Yeah. So at that point, where were you working?
At that point, well, I was just going into municipal work.
Oh, municipal work.
I had done base work with the Army Corps of Engineers, which included, airfields.
Yeah.
What the Army discovered, and part of that was through the Army base base closure involved all the branches, but what they discovered, especially during Desert Storm, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, whatever, was that we had units that had to be activated very quickly, and they were far from airfields or far from airports, and it was kind of a scramble to get them to airfields and airports that they needed to be mobilized.
Yeah.
By air. And those are mostly the 82nd Airborne, 101st Airborne that had to go by air. I mean, obviously tanks have to go by ship.
Right.
But what they did was, so that was the beginning of what the military started as being power projection, which was really just getting airports closer to where the troops are. I think they would have thought of that before 1990, but there we were.
That seems fair. Now, you grew up in Moline, is that correct?
East Moline.
I apologize.
Yeah,
East,
well, I
East.
tell people Moline all the time. But my friend, you grew up in East Moline. You didn't grow up in Moline. Okay.
And
big difference.
During that, so your father, your mother immigrated from Greece, correct?
Greece, yeah.
And I know you had told the story before, but your dad would go down to the airport, right, and get buttons from every politician that was on the trail.
Well, the Iowa caucus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Davenport is the second biggest.
Yeah.
And the airport, it's an airport. It's an interstate airport authority, I think, Moline.
Yeah.
And so, campaign planes would fly into Moline. Not that it mattered. Davenport's right across the river, but
right.
he would go to the airport. He was retired, and he would go to the airport, and whatever candidate showed up to go to campaign for the Iowa caucus.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the basement, I have a big collection of, people so-and-so for president that never made it past the Iowa caucus in the New Hampshire primary. But hey, if you need campaign buttons of people that never got elected to anything, let me know.
That's the guy. Yeah, so young George in Illinois, East Moline. What is it? Is it Rock Island, correct? The artillery? Is that
Rock Island Arsenal?
Rock Island Arsenal. And your dad obviously immigrated here. So during that period, what kind of got you on the pathway into the military? What was it? When
I was in high school, in the International Harvester closed. Like a lot of, that was the prime of the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
Time when industries were closing. Quad Cities, Moline.
Yeah.
Moline is the headquarters of John Deere, and then the Rock Island Arsenal was Alcoa. There was an International Harvester, and a large International Harvester plant closed.
Yeah.
And that the Quad Cities economy took a big hit. So almost my entire generation left they were just and I was,
yeah,
I needed a way to pay for college, and my dad said, well,
That was the way.
The reserve ROTC. Looks good to me.
That seems fair. So during that period, your family owned a farm, right?
Yeah, we had a
small farm. And working farm, like you worked at?
Yeah. Well, when my mom was actually born here.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, they came through Ellis Island.
Okay.
And during the Depression, my grandfather bought the farm as a hedge against.
Literally bought the farm.
Literally bought the farm.
Literally bought the farm.
Fortunately, it was many, many decades later they bought. I actually bought the other farm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a small farm, and he worked at John Deere.
Okay. So I didn't know that. So your grandfather worked for John Deere.
Yeah, my grandfather.
Wow. Okay. But your dad, he didn't work.
He did for a while.
He did. Oh wow. Okay. So John Deere. So my side of the family grew up, my dad's side, in the Flint area, and everybody was somewhat associated for the most part with automotive. But I would assume in Moline, at least during that period, it was similar, where a lot of people had.
Yeah, my grandfather, he was actually here in Greektown, Chicago.
Okay. They moved everybody out.
And he got a job with the Rock Island Lions for your railroad buffs out there.
Kevin Spitz is watching. Remember, he's
Kevin Spitz. He knows the Rock Island Lions. And he went out there, and then he left Rock Island Lions, and he went to John Deere. It was a funny story that my kids told when they were in school. I actually have my grandfather's. I have his draft card from World War I.
Really?
And it says 5F. 5F was, you're an immigrant. We don't trust you. You're not getting drafted.
So we know what the F stands for.
Yeah. Stay away. No. I can't. I'm trying to think of something with an F.
Yeah, right.
Family-friendly show.
I can always put the explicit button on.
No. But so I have the card. The kids take it in the history class. And by World War II, my grandfather was working at the John Deere foundry making steel. And this is very close to Rock Island Arsenal. So the War Department came in. It was really called the War Department back then. The War Department came in and told everyone at the foundry, you cannot quit, you cannot move, you cannot leave, you cannot die, you cannot get sick. You're not going anywhere. And the young guys wanted to enlist.
Wow.
Right? The young guys wanted to go to the war. And they said, no, you're not enlisting. If you enlist, we'll go get you from the Army and we'll bring you back. Because they were key, especially for the Rock Island Arsenal. Rock Island Arsenal was building small arms and cannons. Because you making high-quality steel is more important than holding a rifle in,
that seems
somewhere in Europe.
Somewhat logical.
And the young guys really wanted to go.
Yeah.
They wanted to go to the war.
Yeah.
But the War Department said, you're not going anywhere. You're going to sit right here in East Moline, and you're going to make steel for the Rock Island Arsenal and make that. Because it took a long time. Obviously, it takes a long time to train up. So my grandfather went from, you're an immigrant, we don't want you, to you can't quit.
You're essential.
You're key to the war effort.
That seems like how typically government works.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's, it's kind of the American story. You're an immigrant, we don't want you to. We absolutely need you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, especially in these days, know. And I've gone down to Moline with you before, and besides all the local food joints you like to hit up.
Good food.
Good food. I know. Okay. So, they have that bridge, right? That railroad bridge that spins around. I think your wife had issues with it.
Right? A few. It's a railroad and road bridge. Rock Island Arsenal Bridge. And it's very close to the Lock and Dam. Yeah. And you drive and the railroad is above you. My wife and I were engaged and had the sunroof open. And there just happened to be a train. She was, is that a train above us? I said, yeah, I got to close the sunroof because sometimes some stuff, kind of drips off or falls off. I think there's 8 or 9 of those left in the entire United States.
I remember when I lived in Pittsburgh, one of the funniest things, at least in the media, that they did is they built a bridge under a bridge to catch the crap that fell off the old bridge. And it was like, rather than fix the old bridge, they built a new one so it could catch the crap that fell off the old one.
Well, in the Quad Cities, they just use your car.
Yeah, that seems fair. Right.
A lot cheaper than building a new bridge. Right.
Well, lucky thing, nothing happened, and you got married, and you moved on from there. So you're in Moline, you go in the military, or ROTC?
ROTC.
ROTC. Now, where did you go to college? Anybody that knows you, that's an inside joke.
Well, I went undergrad at Illinois State, and I went active duty, and then I went to graduate school at University of Illinois.
You know, did they have
lovely wife?
Any sports teams there? U of I?
University of Illinois? No. They have intramural underwater basketball.
That seems fair.
Might make the NCAA tournament. Underwater basketball is highly underrated.
So, you know, hey, listen, I think that was kind of the standard joke forever, right? You're going to get a degree in basket weaving. I remember my mother, I forget where she went to college. It was somewhere on the East Coast, but she had a class on map folding, literally how to fold a map. I guess that took up a whole semester.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, I mean, the skills that you don't possess.
I had a class at college on map. In fact, I had another class on map making, map folding.
I will say, if you had ever got one of those maps, which I'm sure both of us did, that anybody probably ever gets them ever again. Sometimes I would mess it up. And I would think to myself, maybe I should have taken that course.
Only had a semester.
If I had a semester on map folding. Now, there probably was multiple maps, I would think, right? Different variety. You could probably apply map folding to a lot of folding skills, not just with the maps. But
I don't know how that works now with the GPS on our phone, but hey.
Yeah, you can fold your phone. Some phones you can fold. Some phones you can fold. If you can fold your phone?
Yeah, the fold.
Yeah, I know someone who works at Orlando Airport, and they have a folding phone, and they think very highly of themselves with that folding phone. It's kind of a personality statement.
I have 2 smartphones, as you know. One's the airport, and the one thing I'm looking forward to in retirement is not to have a smartphone.
Well, 2 smartphones, 1 dumb guy, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I always say, people go, "Why do you have 2 smartphones?" I say, so that's so you can identify the dumbest person in the world.
I can't figure it out on this one.
The guy with two smartphones, that's the dumbest person.
So ROTC. So again, and where I went to school, ROTC. I think the claim to fame with Embry-Riddle is they have the highest enrollment of ROTC because a lot of their worldwide campuses are on military bases. But you'll be the expert on this. So in ROTC, you're a cadet, but you're taking college courses at the same time?
Yeah, I'm a full-time college student.
Okay.
I was what they call dual status, which meant that I had classes Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and then there were field exercises and weekends and summer camps, but I was simultaneously in the Army Reserve. So I had my weekend drills.
Okay.
And then my summer camp, and then the weeks-long, month-long mandatory training. So I was a busy guy in college. I mean, I still had my college fun, but yeah, I was a busy guy.
So when you're going through that, I apologize. I know U of I, but your first college was Illinois State. So when you're at Illinois State and you're committed after that to a certain stint in just the military, right?
And it varies. Some people, if you get a federal scholarship, it's like being at West Point. You have to do active duty time after.
Okay.
But the benefits are everything's paid for. For me, I was reserved, so I could stay reserve. Right. But I didn't get all the benefits that the federal scholarship. But I had the option, and I went Army Reserve training, and then I did some active duty tours subsequent to that. So
we have a lot of students that watch and listen to it. So obviously, with your experience, that's something you would recommend. Especially if you're struggling to pay for college and stuff. It's an avenue.
I was dual. I went on the Army Reserve first.
Yeah.
So if the war happened, I would have had to go regardless.
Yeah.
The traditional Army ROTC is that freshman and sophomore year, you don't have a commitment.
Okay.
And then for your third year, but you don't get big benefits.
Right.
Your third year is where you raise your right hand. In fact, at the University of Illinois, at Champaign, what they do is they swear those junior cadets in as their military appreciation, which is right around Veterans Day.
Okay.
So they'll bring them out, I guess, between the first and second quarter, and swear them in right on the football field.
So, that's interesting because I was just watching, some of the new stuff, actually, when I was setting up all this new equipment last night. Thank you again for being fantastically new equipment. And such, again, I should have had 3 phones to help me figure out how to put it all together, but oh well. But I was watching it. Of course, I had the news on, and they were talking through different things with President Trump, and one of them was him swearing in at a football game. But that just kind of clued me in. That's what he was doing. It was
that's probably what it was.
Because there was a college game
for all the service.
Yeah,
Army,
okay.
Navy, or OTC,
Yeah.
Air Force or OTC. Your third year.
Yeah.
As a college student, your third year. I got sworn in before I even went to college because I was in the Army Reserve.
So when you started that process, what, obviously I know you mentioned to, pay for school itself, but why the Army? I mean, what you decided
which to call my friend. He said, let's go joke with this guy. We really didn't have anything to do.
Seems fair. So when you got in,
17-year-old male decision process.
So which
hasn't improved very much, by the way.
It seems fair.
I don't know. Why'd you buy a purple car? I don't know. It looked cool.
So my dad, he went into the Army, and same thing, was recruited into it, and the recruiter promised him that he would go to Key Largo, Florida, and the funny thing about it is they obviously didn't assign him to that. I think they assigned him somewhere in Germany, and he's like, no, they promised me Key Largo.
Have you seen the old movie Private Benjamin?
No, I haven't.
That's the
okay.
Because Goldie Hawn is, she goes,
yeah.
And then they're in a field exercise, and she's dirty and muddy, and she goes up to and she goes, "This is not the Army I joined. I joined the Army," because her recruiter showed her these condominiums on the beach with palms. I joined the Army with catered food and palm trees and beaches. They're like, yeah, that's the recruiter's Army.
But so the funny thing, he said it. He when he was going through the obviously in basic, you go through basic training, then you get your orders. Is that how that typically?
Well, you go to basic training, and then you go to your military occupational skill.
Okay. So some point through that period, he brought it up, and they switched him to Key Largo. They did.
Well, he changed military occupational skill.
Yeah. So he was on the Nike and Hercules missiles. And this would have been back when they were nuclear warheads. And they switched to ballistic while he was there, but it was
we had Nike missile silos around the Chicagoland area.
Really?
I decommissioned one.
Wow.
In a place that I can't tell you.
Oh, that's fair enough.
In fact, you and I have driven by it.
Have we?
Yes.
Right, let's shut the cameras off.
Turn off. Be quiet.
Yeah. Well, if we don't shut it off, the government will shut it off. So when you were going through that process, at what point was your journey tanks? Was that during the recruiting, or
I was in a reserve unit that was tanks.
Okay, so you just kind of fell into
requested armor. What happens in the Army is that it's kind of a pyramid.
Yeah,
pyramid. The lower end, the early end, is they need more young guys in combat role.
Yeah,
armor, infantry.
Yeah,
artillery, air defense artillery, and then as it goes up, which is also people leave the military.
Yeah,
they go into finance and administration and the not boots on the ground fighting war. When you're right out of school, if you apply for one of the combat commissions, you're gonna get it.
Oh, this guy wants to be a
cannon fodder, but no, it's supply and demand.
Yeah,
they have to fill the ranks of young men and women that are in a combat role, and then as your career progresses.
Right. So during that period, so your first degree was in, what did you get a degree in?
Geology.
Geology.
Yeah.
So you're a geologist. Wow, no wonder
ask me what rocks.
I found a rock behind my head.
Sedimentary. I'm like, I forgot.
Yeah, I honestly don't even know what those words really mean, but
I didn't like that part of it. I like the more seismic tectonic plates.
That is interesting.
Kind of stuff.
They say when the tectonic plates stop moving, the Earth is dead, right? Isn't that what happened to Mars?
Yeah.
They stop shifting.
When tectonic plates move, we have earthquakes.
Well, we do, but it's a good thing, right? Because
it releases pressure.
Right.
Small earthquakes are good.
Right. But when
like marriage, small earthquakes are good. Don't let the pressure build up.
That seems fair. What else do you have for marriage advice?
No. Nothing else.
Yeah, I think Maria would like to listen to this.
Destination marriage conflict rate.
Hey, sometimes destination aviation can result in destination no marriage. So people might want to hear your side.
What my beautiful wife said.
Yeah.
There's like the Middle East. There's no solution. She says it. I don't say it. She says it.
That's it. That seems about right. So your degree was geology.
Geology. And
What were you planning to do with that? If you don't want me asking, what was at your time? You thought geology. I'm going to do this. What was it? Just to get a lot of dates at the time, or what was your thought?
Have you watched Big Bang Theory?
I have.
That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about.
Those of you who haven't seen Big Bang Theory. Sheldon is completely against geologists. He says they're not even scientists. I didn't know. One option was to go active duty, like full career active duty.
Yeah.
Which I did for training, and then I got a short term, not deployment, really, an active duty assignment. And then I just decided to go to graduate school in urban planning, and don't ask me how I decided. Again, 23-year-old male decision making. I don't know. I'm tired of being in a tank out in the woods. There's girls back in college, and Uncle Sam's going to pay for it. What should I do?
Yeah. Well, you did.
And I did, literally. I mean, I went back to graduate school.
Yeah.
And between Army Reserve and GI benefits and the fact that University of Illinois has an Army Corps of Engineers facility.
Right.
So I was able to work there. I paid nothing for graduate school.
Wow. It's interesting because it does seem to make a lot of sense now, because I feel like when you're looking at me, you're studying me like a rock. Like, look at that, this thick head. What's in that? So when you went back, did you tell people you were a geologist? Is that
No, because I never became a professional geologist.
So even though you have the degree, it's almost like a journeyman. You have to practice.
It's like engineer. Like engineers become EITs and become PEs. I never.
I will say to your point about the earthquakes. I mean, you watch some of those old videos about like Mount St. Helens, and I remember the one. I think he was a geologist. I think that was his.
I was in high school when that happened. It was fascinating. It might have been the reason I.
But yeah, I was to say it's fascinating.
In fact, I remember it being like I was like or something, and I remember there was dust in the air.
Yeah, here.
Here.
Yeah.
That's like the kind of wildfires we have in the summer.
Wow.
It was. Yeah, they found. I'll say even with 1980s technology, they knew that it was from.
And then the same time they came out with St. Elmo's fire. So you had that for you, right?
Wow, this little podcast takes some sunlight.
Yeah, right. And, well, I think anybody that, as you said.
I got that song in my head. Destination, what song is in George's head?
Exactly. So we just bounce around. You mentioned the weave earlier. We're weaving, right? We'll bring it back to airplanes at some point. I don't know when. Well, I'll say this. I don't remember the incidents, but I believe it was a 747 that went through a volcanic rupture, and that's what caused the engines to shut down, right? Like the sediment inside the engine. But they didn't know, obviously, what was happening. Now they have, if there's a volcano eruption, they move aircraft around that. But there's a very interesting documentary on it. He said, people watch it, you can email me and tell me what it is, or we'll look it up at some point once we have our phones back. But it was a 747, and it was, 4 engines, right? And they're losing one after another because they went through an eruption. And they eventually were able to get the engine started back up at a lower altitude. I don't remember exactly the deal, since there was more oxygen in the air, but St. Elmo's fire.
I would imagine if you simulated that,
right?
You literally would take a sandblaster
and
heat and you'd lower and blow it into an engine just to see.
Makes sense.
But it's like sandblasting and depriving the engine oxygen. So.
You'd have to add Rob Lowe to the cast, just to make it interesting. But
songs back in the head.
Okay, so back to the
weave.
Back to your.
Well, here I was at the Pentagon. It was Army.
Well, no, hold on a second. No. Now, where we left off, you were going back to school, right? Like you left. I keep forgetting it 'cause you talk so much about University of Illinois. It is, what is it? It's Illinois State. What is it? What's your other?
It's Illinois State. I did
Illinois
duty time. Went to grad school at University.
Became a geologist. Never practiced. Came back. Decided to go into urban planning. Right? Not. You didn't want to be an architect. You wanted to be an urban planner.
Be a marine biologist. Seinfeld reference. You need like a little sign. Seinfeld reference.
Pulled up.
Big Bang Theory. Now that you got it on video, that's what you need.
Yeah, a little sign. Well, Andrew, who we both know, maybe this very nice sign. Court, who we know, maybe these very nice
You're getting
Destination
accoutrements here.
alcohol with the logo on it. Very, very nice of him to do that.
Not to be ingested on the airport, never.
Never. But to be every good podcast has to have booze in the background that you never drink.
I wasn't aware of that rule, but I
don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, that I'm a professional something. I'm not a geologist.
No, neither one of us is.
Right, fair enough. Okay, so urban planning. Now, at that point, what are you a reserve or your reserve?
At that point, I'm an officer in Europe.
Okay, and you're going for your master's degree at U of I.
Yeah,
and urban planning, and really no rhyme or reason to that. You just decided one day. Urban planning.
I just, it's one of those things. I just like doing it. And I worked at the Army Corps of Engineers laboratory.
So you got some experience in that.
Yeah. Well, okay. I was in the, we talked about it this morning. I was in the Army Corps of Engineers office there that deals with, it was actually an environmental office.
Okay.
And part of that office was a very early, what's called Installation Compatible Use Zone.
That sounds important.
And it was a very early computer, like 1990s computer
dot matrix
noise contours.
Yeah.
And we at our airport do it passively, meaning right, we put up this kind of equipment and we passively listen.
Literally this equipment. I stand out there with this microphone.
Literally this.
That sounded loud.
Orange and blue.
Yeah, right. Just so people could see me on the side of the road.
I was looking orange and blue. But no, we do it passively, whereas the Army, they had to model. I mean, it's, a military installation is a city.
Yeah.
Right. It's got people living there. It has people, buying groceries there and kids going to school there. But it also has an artillery and, helicopters.
So you're actually monitoring the noise out of
it was modeling because it was all brand new.
Okay.
Right.
So you had no actual in-field, you were looking at decibels. You were taking
in that group, but I was,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was helping them crunch data. But what they would do is they would go out and they would get. I mean, this is like ancient history as far as computers,
right?
And computer modeling. They would go out and they would go to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is home of field artillery.
Yeah,
and they would set up the equipment and they would get the data. I mean, some of it was like clipboard at the time.
Yeah, and
then they would type in to Lotus 123 or whatever it was back in the day, so that they would get some benchmark of noise levels, so that when the Army had to make decisions where to move units, where to put them on the base, they had some benchmark of data for how much noise, both for on installation and off installation. I mean, if you're in the military, if you're a military spouse, and your kid's a military kid, I mean, the noise is noise. It doesn't matter if you're, a military spouse and kids getting ready for school and you have booms, or you're across the street outside of the installation, but noise is noise.
Right. It has to be, like in our business, noise is obviously it comes and goes in phases when, airplanes are coming and going, but it is, it's a scenario where it grows and it has like a finite amount of growth, loudness, departure. But in your case, besides the ambient stuff, like yours is explosions, right? Like I would assume there has to be some sort of like startle calculation in there, right? Like for just the average person that, you and I are sitting here, we could hear a jet take off right now and okay, I'm hearing it. I'm just going to get louder and it's going to go away. But in your case, it's boom right, at any given time, like from nothing to, I don't know how many decibels, but
it would be a whole artillery battery going off at one time. It would be boom, 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 boom. And so, again, this was like ancient history computer-wise.
Yeah.
But, to their credit, for as many jokes we make about, military intelligence. And with the tools available, the Army was trying to be sensitive to both, the troops and their families, and to installation,
Right.
the off installation ecosystem.
Right.
Because everyone's been to a military base, and outside the gate is another city.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
They
absolutely.
live there, they support the
Right.
base, they have their businesses.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. And that, it probably seems like a unique field for someone to gain a lot of interest in too. I mean, it seems like a lot of
Yeah,
data.
I was kind of on the receiving end of it. Okay.
Yeah.
In rudimentary terms, it was like,
Yeah.
okay, we have this base, we're going to relocate. I'm using field artillery, so I'll just use field artillery. The Army's made the decision to move a battery of field artillery to this base.
Yeah.
Okay, IQs, noise people, installation compatible use zone, and then they make zones. I say, okay, IQs, tell me where they can, where on the base we can put them, knowing that there's an operational need,
right,
of, they need certain equipment and facilities, and they need to be, certain things need to be next to each other. But also, where can we put this? Is there a place that we can put this where it has the least amount of impact on the rest of the installation and off installation?
It's interesting because when you first mentioned it in passing this morning, it was early and I had spent a lot of time setting this equipment up. And when you were walking away, for a moment, I thought, did he just say he was studying haikus? And I was like, that can't be right. What is haiku? Is that an acronym?
Installation compatible use zone.
So once you got that data, so obviously like in aviation, if you have, a residential sound installation program, we've talked about it in the past episodes, but the end kind of result is if it falls within the certain parameters, the airport is allowed through FAA funding to do sound insulation, new windows, new doors, stuff like that on homes. Was there an end result for yours, or you were calculating more distance to some of those examples you gave earlier where your thought was more this activity shouldn't move here, period? Or were you, designing or giving like you mentioned the city without the city?
It was all recommendations.
So you gave recommendations.
The combat.
Okay, that was it. Okay.
There's no.
So there wasn't any actual physical, besides maybe. Okay.
The military has the same problem that airports have.
Yeah.
Okay. There's Fort Ord in Death Valley, California. Nobody around it. You can blow off all the expense. That's what it's there for.
Right.
Right. To blow off all the explosives and move all the troops and trains and all their equipment. And then you have military bases. A lot of them are from literally colonial era.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That by modern standards are tiny.
Yeah.
And there's been, decades or hundreds of years of people building up around it. So it's very limited. So, and there are installations in between, just like airports.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like here in Chicago, we have us. We're landlocked, right? We're surrounded by civilization. At the beginning, we weren't.
Correct.
Pictures here, on all the walls.
Right.
It was just farm fields.
Correct.
And then we have Midway, and then we have, airports that are local.
Yeah, Midway is a poster child of landlocked. Yes.
So, and military installations are the same way.
Yeah.
So, we made recommendations based on that available information.
Yeah.
And if it was between, one base or the other, it was part of the decision process up at, somewhere fifth ring, outer ring of the Pentagon. They said, well, these noise nerds might be right. Maybe we just don't want to, because if we put one battery there and it's not a problem, but they said if we put two batteries there, the people in town, it's it's too landlocked. But we have this other base that can handle two batteries. Let's move into that.
Okay. One thing, just so I'm sure this is probably the answer to this, but you mentioned it with the Pentagon. The outer ring, I'm assuming you said 4 to 5, right? 5. The most important, is that because you got a window? Is that why the outer ring was?
Yeah, I had a window on the 4th.
Okay.
Ring.
Yeah.
And my window faced the 5th ring. And it was me looking out the window and them
seeing,
looking at me.
Okay.
There's a space in between there. It's just nothing, really. Gravel.
So it's kind of like a courtyard with gravel? Or how much?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
There's nothing there. It's spokes.
It's a fascinating building.
Rings.
Yeah, it's a fascinating.
And then in the middle is is an open area.
Yeah.
It's nice, and they have a restaurant there.
Yeah.
And it's patio.
That's
And
nice.
the restaurant is, I don't know about now.
Uh-huh.
I think it was called Ground Zero. And the reason they probably changed the name after 9/11.
I was gonna say
The reason it was Ground Zero, because we knew the first Russian nuclear warhead was going to hit right there.
Oh wow.
The good news was you're having your lunch, you're dead before.
You're just a shadow.
Yeah, there's no anxiety about it because you would be the first one dead.
Yeah, you wouldn't even have to think about it.
So they just named it Ground Zero because
go have a sandwich and think about, especially during
the first Russian missile.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, because now all movies are AI, right, taking over the world, and that's kind of the thought of thanks to probably people like James Cameron. But back then, every movie was about nuclear war and the end of
Red October.
Right, yeah. Which always threw me off when Sean Connery was playing a Russian. I enjoy the movie, but it's hard for me to sometimes get past.
The name is Bond.
Right. Well, he has the Scottish accent, right? And he's, in command of a Russian submarine. And
it's a good movie, though.
It is a good movie. It was an interesting casting choice because at the beginning, right, they do that kind of fade from Russian to just normal English and I guess his version of English. But it is a good movie.
Good guy. He was not going to nuke the people having their lunch.
He wasn't. I just purely am thinking, why would Russia let some from Scotland drive their submarine? And I know that's
it's really a fishing movie,
right?
If you think about
it. Yeah, he's fishing.
He just wants to go fishing.
He just wants to go fishing. He wants to go. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it is, and he is. Yeah. Well, I won't spoil if nobody's watched it, but I have a funny story about Hunt for Red October. But since we're doing a
Aviation.
Well, no, not that. Since we're not going to put the explicit on, I'll tell it to you some other time because it's a funny story. But it can't be. Yeah. Hey, whoa, I'm just saying.
I'm worried. Glad it's Friday.
Seems fair. But besides that, so you're going to UVI, urban planning. So with some of the examples we just talked about, part of your recommendations, and I'm assuming this is again Jeff being an idiot, so you correct me here, but with the urban planning, if there was artillery, if there was a lot of stuff, you would recommend to the cities around the base, hey, maybe you should put industrial or commercial or a park and not residential.
Yeah, it was
and that's what got you more like, hey, I could do this on a civilian side for a larger community.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, military bases are just big city.
Yeah.
They just happen to have some out of the ordinary activities. But they are a big city. I mean, people live there, people work there. There's offices. There's, there's bars. There's restaurants. There's school.
So you're in the reserves. So at this point, you had your stint. Were you generally in Illinois most of the time, or you?
Yeah. Well, I was. My options were stay at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Which was not my thing.
Yeah.
I want the Army to make things go boom. To go to sit in office.
Yeah.
Go to Atlanta, but there was no. I would have had to go on a contract or come work for the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
Here in Chicago.
Okay.
So being close to home, I moved here, and then I kind of transitioned out of that. I mean, quite honestly, with like being in a field office.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to progress, I would have had to go back to Washington D.C. or at least to Atlanta.
Okay.
And by then I was engaged and didn't want my parents needed some help and the farm, that sort of thing. So really, and then I didn't, I was traveling a lot with the Army Corps of Engineers, and I just didn't. I got get deployed. I mean, I went to Saudi Arabia or Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and goofy places, and I just didn't want to do that.
Right,
settle down.
Yeah.
And having a degree in urban planning and the experience I had. I went into municipal work.
Well, there was that really good chili restaurant you showed me in D.C. That wasn't a factor for you.
Cafe, King Street, right down the street.
Yeah, just in case.
Down the street from the yellow and the blue line.
If you ever want to send George a pot of chili, Chicago Executive Airport.
Cafe, Alexandria, Virginia, King Street.
So that wasn't a factor to going back to D.C. for you. Obviously.
Best chili.
It is good chili.
My boss at the Pentagon, like me, hated the Pentagon. He really, and he was from Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah.
He was a Texan
all the way
and
through.
we would go eat there, and he would walk in, and he would say, I want you to put me anywhere I don't have to look at that damn Oklahoma State flag. And he would sit down and he would get his, was it Lone Star beer? They had, anyone remember Pearl beer? If you remember Pearl beer, you were a real Texan.
Yeah.
San Antonio, Pearl beer. Anyway,
Pearl beer.
He'd get Pearl beer or a Lone Star beer, and he'd go, and he'd look around and he'd go, this is a cultural oasis in a sea of iniquity. He hated D.C. That was home away from home, the Texas chili.
You know, he had quite the tongue there for, flair.
Great boss.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace, yes. So you met your wife there, you said, correct?
I met her at University of Illinois.
U of I? Did I say that?
U of I.
Okay. U of I.
One U of I. Everyone that went to Iowa now. Iowa City.
Yeah, that seems fair. Well, when you say it too, because your daughter's name is Eleni, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eleni. But you're also what do you call it? The Fighting Illini down there?
Fighting Illini.
Sometimes I get confused when you start talking. I say,
sometimes she's fighting Illini, because we all are. Bad days.
Everybody does. I might be getting in one right now.
That's why she went there. I never thought of that.
Right?
Eleni.
Right. I don't know. I just say when I
right. She graduated 2 years now.
Look at that. Now you have something to talk about when you go home. Anyways, so what was your wife going into there?
My wife was she got a degree in business, but she did the Disney College internship program. So she spent a semester in Disney World.
Really?
The standing joke was, she was Snow White.
She was.
She wasn't.
Okay.
She worked at the Grand Floridian. But we tell people that. And then we went back later and took a picture with Snow White. You can't tell the difference. You can tell the difference. But so she interned there, and then she came and she worked for Sony Corporation.
Okay. She
was an account manager for Sony.
Yeah. And so when you started at U of I, what year would have that been? We're talking
graduate school.
I'm sorry, what year, actual year, calendar year? Is that in the 90s? 89. So 89. And then from there, you guys got married, and then you moved into municipal work right away? Or because you also had a moment where you were working with hazardous material, right?
Yeah. I spent some time.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't my thing. The first opportunity, I came back to municipal work, which is kind of funny because I ended up in Schiller Park, right next to O'Hare. So we weave back to aviation.
Well, and so when you started your municipal work, because my side to it, when I started working in aviation, a lot of airports, most public airports in the U.S. are owned by some sort of government body. But there are airports, and I've worked at them, that are exclusively, like a city airport. And so you do get a good civics lesson of how government works, or sometimes maybe doesn't work too well. So when you got into this field, what was kind of your first job in government, like in civilian government work?
Well, I worked for the town we've lived in since, Antioch, Illinois, which has no aviation tie.
Which you also were an elected official in, right?
I was an elected official.
The first time we've had an elected
politician. I was not much.
Look at this politician over here.
Not much politics.
Tell us your platform, George.
My platform. Well, you know what? We raised water rates, and everybody else was being a politician.
Well, that's good. You needed to raise.
Well, and I got tired of it. I just said, okay, here,
right,
in open session, we are raising your water rates.
Yeah,
I am going to vote for it. The reason I'm voting for it is because we have to raise rates occasionally. For the case has been made that this is what we need to maintain our system. I'm voting for it.
Right.
If you don't like it, vote me out of office. I'm more than happy watching Monday Night Football. And nobody voted me out of office. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I worked there, but then the opportunity came up to be community development director here in Schiller Park, which is immediately west of O'Hare.
Immediately west of O'Hare.
It was the timing was, I didn't plan any of this, but I was there maybe a month, and they announced the massive O'Hare modernization program.
With all the runways, correct?
Yeah.
Reposition and runways.
Expansion.
Right.
Didn't say O'Hare expansion. O'Hare modernization.
Well,
OP.
I mean, you wouldn't want it to get any bigger, right? I mean,
Well, they took out entire neighborhoods in Bensenville, Illinois.
I just,
West Side of the airport.
I don't know. It's
It was
just
quite
right.
controversial.
Oh no, I remember. I remember
It
the amount. What it was like was it a 20 or 30-year plan? It was a long time that they.
Well, that was 2005.
Yeah.
So, and Schiller Park had the benefit of being on the east side of the airport, which was across the tri-state tollway.
Right.
And there was no possibility of O'Hare expanding that way. I mean,
right.
So Schiller Park got the economic benefit. I'm weaving back to economic development.
Let's get there
around here.
Yeah.
So we got there was a lot of economic development demand, business demand in Schiller Park because of O'Hare modernization, and because it didn't affect Schiller Park. We had business in Bensenville.
Yeah.
That called up and said, I'm being kicked out of, the eminent domain and quick take. I went down to the Illinois state legislature and got, quote unquote, quick take. So I would get calls from businesses saying, I've got a year to get out of my business here. What do you have in Schiller Park? Where can you put me?
Right.
So we worked through, and that's where I really got a good idea of economic development, especially aviation economic development.
Yeah.
We've right into that.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that.
No, well, it was because it was about being so close to O'Hare, being in the O'Hare submarket, as economists would say it, economists would say it. They were, if not, immediately related to aviation. They were at least, tangentially, and they were there because of O'Hare.
Yeah.
They were there because of O'Hare.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you mentioned, I mean, what I find funny about it is O'Hare's the busiest airports in the world, 800,000 operations, and we're not going to expand. I mean, I get why they have to make that statement, but it's interesting because it's like you're already one of the biggest airports in the world. Then you talk about like noise and all that. It's just funny how politics play into some of those statements, right? Because it's like, well, what are you protecting? It's kind of like when you talk about like artillery, right? Like if you're shooting off 100 tanks a day, you'd be like, we're not going to 102 tanks, so don't you worry about it. Okay.
Hey, we live that around here.
No, I
got the 65 DNL one.
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, across the street, sorry. You
right.
get windows and doors. Well, my neighbor got windows and doors. Well,
right. Yeah, right.
It's like invitations to a wedding. Sorry, Aunt Mabel. We haven't talked to you in 30 years. You didn't get invited.
You're not on the list.
You're not on the list.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
So you're in Schiller Park. You're married. Happily married.
Kids.
Happily married. Kids are
full disasters.
Full disasters.
No, full catastrophe. A lot of movie references.
References. Most of what we are. Yeah, they're good movies. They're good movies. So you're enjoying the municipal life at that point?
Yeah, I did. I enjoyed it because Schiller Park, the population on the sign says 16,000.
Yeah.
The emergency management people of Cook County told us that at any moment there were 110,000 people in the town.
Wow.
And funny, flaming about it, South 927.
Yeah.
In O'Hare. If and when I land there and I'm paying attention to what runway I'm on, which is not every time, but and they say, "Welcome to Chicago," I say, actually in the corporate boundaries of Schiller Park, Illinois.
Right.
In Chicago, when we taxi over Terminal 1, 2, 3, 5.
Right.
Okay, now you're in Chicago. You're in Schiller Park.
It is kind of a gerrymandering scenario with that, right? Because when you look at like Chicago proper, right, it's kind of like a finger, right, out to O'Hare.
It's the 300-foot. There's a 300-foot lane, and it is not the expressway.
Yeah.
There's a 300-foot lane that goes through the Forest Preserve over the Des Plaines River. And it comes out on River Road. It separates the village of Rosemont from the village of Schiller Park.
Yeah.
If you go to the Intercontinental, I think it is now, whatever the hotel is, next to the Rosemont.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
At the hotel, you are in Chicago. Their conference center the hotel is in Rosemont, Illinois. The conference center is in Chicago. Just you walk out the south door of the conference center, you're in Schiller Park. That 300-foot strip holds O'Hare onto Chicago, which is funny because if you have an event at that hotel,
Yeah.
when you get your bill,
Right.
the hotel bill, anything in the hotel
Yeah.
has the Rosemont tax on it. Anything in the conference center has the Chicago tax on it.
Interesting. Now, I would assume, I haven't looked into it, so this is going to be an assumption, you might know, that with us turning 100, thank you for wearing the shirt, first airport in the Chicagoland region to turn 100. You can buy it. You can buy them, yeah. On the pop-up shout out the Chicago Executive website.
If not, just get a hold of us.
Yeah, get a hold of
You're
us.
falling asleep by now.
Yeah, right.
Contact
Yeah,
me.
right. DApodcast85@gmail.com. I'll get you over to him. Right, exactly. You want some whiskey. By the end of this, we might want some. I guess what I'm getting at.
Time for whiskey. Yeah.
It might be. So, I would assume, so Midway was the airport for Chicago.
Yeah, sure.
1927, right? Open. When O'Hare came by, it was the 50s, right? I forget, it's 54, 56.
Well, it's ORD because it was
Orchard.
an orchard.
Yeah.
There was also a racetrack.
I would assume that when the cities decided, okay, we need an airport, that's where the 300-foot is like, okay, we have to build it out where because at that point, urban sprawl probably had to hit out towards where O'Hare and
It's getting there, and that's
it's getting there. But I would assume a deal had to be struck to annex the land, unless maybe it already for some reason existed that way. But
Rosemont Incorporated,
yeah,
there was a group of people that said, "Hey, they're going to build and if you've been to Rosemont, they made the right decision because Rosemont. I mean, how many?
Right.
Oh, I can guarantee you, thousands and thousands of people have come to a conference in Chicago right by the airport.
Right.
They're in Rosemont, Illinois. They're not in Chicago.
Oh, well, so we're hosting.
So they incorporated,
right?
And the city of Chicago had to scramble,
right,
to keep the airport, to keep O'Hare in Chicago.
Yeah,
and that's the only place available was that 300-foot strip. There's a whole story about it.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do a whole episode on it. We'll figure it out.
I'm not knowledgeable enough.
Well, we'll do research. I would
have Schiller Park at the time didn't. And the Old Man Daily. There's a whole Chicago. I got a guy story about this.
Well, now we have naming rights to the airport, right? I don't know. So something that they're looking to name the airport. If anybody has any ideas, Destination Aviation. I was just gonna say, do we have millions to? That seems fair. Yeah, no, it is interesting how all that stuff kind of comes about because you can see it, especially when politics are involved. You look at it like, yeah, there had to the points you just made. There's a story here of how this all came together, but I'm sure it's a fascinating.
It was just a field and an orchard, and a track. It was a car racing track. Right. Back in the day, dirt track was out there.
This airport was here though. At that point, it had been here 20-something years, right? 30 years, something about that. So you're in Schiller Park. You're getting a taste for it, but you're dealing with them because you're a neighbor, right? You're dealing with O'Hare because you're a neighbor. Did you have, because up to that point, you really, besides, we talked a little bit about early on, Moline, your father being out there, had some experience. I know you've talked kind of, was it a Holiday Inn that they had at the Quad Cities airport with the, circular stairs, was it, or was it?
Oh, the airport, Moline Airport.
So it wasn't a hotel associated with it. Okay.
No, the airport.
It had its own.
Oh, yeah, mid-century architecture. It's fine. They had a circular staircase, and you would go up, and you would before the jetways.
Right.
People would get off and come in. I remember my grandfather flying from Greece, and I went up the circular stairway. And they pushed the stairs up to the plane.
Right.
It wasn't as efficient, but it was crazy romantic. I mean, it was cool. Jumbling up the jetway now with your,
there's some borrowed pizza dripping down.
It's not now. It's just totally utilitarian. Back then, it was cool.
Right. Hey.
Never mind. You could smoke your brains out while you were doing it. It was cool.
I saw a picture recently. Well, actually, it was a video of a guy flying a DC-3 and he's just chugging on a cigar and it's on the floor. But yeah, anyway, so up to that point, military, you decided tanks. So there really wasn't something, you were a user of aviation, but you weren't dabbling. You didn't have too much interest in it.
No, well, Schiller Park lies between O'Hare
and
the Des Plaines River.
Yeah.
And it was draining it. There's a creek called Crystal Creek,
Yeah.
which isn't much of a creek, and is certainly not crystal. And it was basically going through people's backyards,
Yeah.
flooding on a regular basis.
Okay.
Part of O'Hare modernization was now they built a huge system. I don't remember how many acre feet, but literally millions of gallons of water.
Yeah.
It's a big hole in the ground, detention base. We talk about stormwater detention around here.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
is the mother of all detention bases.
Yeah.
And they would have us come and tour it, which is so funny because people would, we had some residents, some Schiller Park residents, 99% of them are fantastic.
Right.
Then there's the 1% that are not convinced by anything.
Right.
Because I showed them pictures of me at this huge detention basin. Oh, here's flooding us.
Right.
They just dug this huge. I mean, the hole was so big. I was at the top of it,
Yeah.
and there was a Ford F-150 down at the bottom. I couldn't identify what kind of a truck. I was like,
really?
It looks like a pickup truck. I could barely make out what it was.
Right.
And then the second stage of that was simultaneous to that, the Chicago Water Reclamation District, which we are very familiar with.
MWRD. So at that point, it wasn't MWRD. Chicago.
It was MWRD.
So, but it wasn't Chicago.
The deep tunnel.
Okay.
Which the deep tunnel is one of the largest water treatment systems in the world.
Okay.
And takes all the water down, most of it from Cook County, to be treated at the Stickney, Illinois plant.
Okay.
So long story incredibly short, we had a lot of coordination with O'Hare concerning stormwater.
But I would assume that's probably to some of the concerns about the airport and growth. That's probably an incentive of they're improving the water drainage systems and stuff, right?
Well, and the other one was
the
O'Hare RSIP program.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you could even now, go to Lawrence Avenue in Schiller Park and just stand on the sidewalk. Our joke was you could tell what kind of toothpaste the pilot used that morning. I mean, it is right over your head. So we had an extensive. So we worked with O'Hare, and fantastic people for all the time that people can moan and complain about things. The people at O'Hare were fantastic, really, about the stormwater, and the RSIP program. So at least my experience was very positive with them mitigating as much as they could the impacts of O'Hare and O'Hare expansion to their immediate neighbor.
Well, someone who grew up, grew up in Michigan, so I grew up in the general area, but it is such an asset. I mean, when we would travel, if you wanted to really go somewhere, right, you either ended up at O'Hare from our airports, or you just drove down here and left from O'Hare. And, living here now, it's so nice. I have not connected since I've lived here. Direct anywhere you want to go.
This is a snowy morning.
Right. It is a snowy morning.
This is the day where I tell myself, if I have to live in this climate, one of the few benefits I get from slogging through the snow is I don't have to connect anymore.
Right. And that is
I
nice.
fly out of O'Hare. I am not connecting. I don't care what's happening. I'm going direct.
Right.
I can do it.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I'm going, to a conference in Arizona, and then I'm going out AOPA with the Buckeye Airport. They're hosting an air show. So I'm going to go out there and do some stuff with the podcast. But I'm leaving Florida, RSW, and I was like, oh, you can't get to Phoenix direct. And I was like, oh, that's right. I got to connect. I got to go through Houston.
Listen, all the hub, when they went to the hub and spoke system, which was in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, after deregulation in 78, it started trickling that way over.
They went to the hub and spoke system. And then I hear, St. Louis, with
TWA.
And then, they went out. So then they're not a hub anymore.
Yep.
Charlotte, US Air was bought by Delta. And
Pittsburgh was US Airways.
Yeah. Yep. So a lot of those, smaller kind of hubs aren't hubs anymore.
Right.
So that's why Atlanta, Chicago, Denver, and SFO have taken they've got increased traffic because of the hub and spoke system and the fewer quote unquote hubs.
So when you were community development in Schiller Park, so when you got out and you had your degree, you never actually were in a role where you were urban planning. I mean, obviously, I know community development, you have hands in that, but
Yeah, well, these built-out communities, yeah. Well, when I was in Antioch,
you wear a lot
we
of
were building
hats.
subdivisions,
Okay.
commercial areas. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was.
So
I
you would,
was an elected official there while I was working. So
okay.
I've been in what's greenfield development.
Right. Cause so like to your example, a larger city might have a dedicated role for that, where a smaller community, maybe like a Schiller Park, you wear a lot of hats
Yeah, and a
to,
built-out community.
yeah.
You know,
Okay.
Schiller Park.
That makes
A
sense.
lot like
Yeah,
here.
right.
My son was born while I was there, so he didn't have a chance to say it. But
Right.
there were we had to tear something down to build something.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. So at that, you were there, you were dealing a little bit with O'Hare. Then from Schiller Park, where did you go?
Des Plaines.
Des Plaines, which is nearby, right?
Yeah, Schiller Park was immediately east of O'Hare, and Des Plaines is immediately north of O'Hare.
And I know for sure because I've been in it and it's lovely. You built a parking garage for air travel.
Pre-flight parking.
What's it called again?
Pre-flight parking.
Pre-flight parking. And is it really? And you get free bottles of water. And there's a scale there to weigh your suitcase. And the shuttle's lovely.
Generates lots of money for that municipality.
It's a beautiful parking structure. It really is. I mean, you turn me onto it. I've always been a fan of parking at the airport just because I'm like, oh, it's at the airport, it's right here. But I honestly couldn't say better things about that project because it's a really nice project.
Well, we had Schiller Park when I got there.
Yeah. Des Plaines or Schiller Park?
When I got to Schiller Park.
Okay.
But here, as I mentioned earlier, Rosemont has the convention centers and the lack of a better term, the sexy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They've got the luxury outlet mall.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that, I'm at a convention and I went to this big mall and I went to I went to this trendy restaurant. Right. I went to the Brazilian restaurant and all that trendy stuff.
Right.
And Schiller Park wanted to be Rosemont, but they're just not in the right location to be.
Yeah.
And didn't have the location, didn't have the configuration of land to be Rosemont.
Right.
So when we proposed a I'll say gas station, but it's a huge gas station.
Yeah.
It's got everything. Convenience store, it's got a car lot, and then next to it a parking garage. The good folks that are, trustees, elected officials who do it part-time. It's
right.
Full-time, they come to a couple meetings a month. They're like, a parking garage, gas station. And they look at,
yeah, they don't sound sexy.
Oh, they're building a luxury outlet mall. Why can't we have the luxury outlet mall? The reason is that a luxury outlet mall doesn't want to come here.
Right. Which I will say, even to this day, usually around the holidays, I find myself down there in like La Crusade or something. It's always very busy in that mall.
It's very busy, but if it had been built in Schiller Park,
not so much.
It might not have been, but
so much.
So there was here, everyone, anywhere you live for a long time.
Yeah.
Especially if you got elected to represent the people there. It's kind of your job to, promote that place and want to get but if the market's not there, the market's not there.
Right.
So the parking garage and the gas station, but newsflash, parking garage, there was a big demand for parking at the time.
Still is.
And that place is full. They're going to build 3 levels, and I said, we're going to engineer it for 4. I told us, just build 4.
Yeah.
Just it's not going to get any. Build 4, and now every time we park there, the whole thing is full.
It's always full. Yeah.
I don't get any Christmas cards from them, but anyway,
at least you get that bottle of water.
Yeah, they have a sign. Only take one.
Well, you tell them I'm George Sakas. I'll take it too.
Just take one. Yeah.
I deserve 2. You take 1 for each floor. Right. I don't think they really watch the water. Yeah.
Push the panic button. Weirdo. But anyway, that parking garage generates a lot of revenue.
Right.
And it just falls out of the sky.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have fire, police, someone locks their keys out of their car.
Right.
And that's it. The gas station.
Right.
Schiller Park is a home rule community, so they have a 0.25%
right
additional tax on fuel. So the money just rolls in, and it's not, sorry to use the term, not the sexiest thing around O'Hare, but it generates money.
Well, and I think, it might have shifted now, but if I remember when I was going through school, I want to say at a commercial service airport, something 73% of the revenue was being generated by parking. And so then, these offsite parking facilities, which O'Hare, I'm sure, gets an access fee. Usually like when I was in San Jose, if it was offsite, they had the readers, right, on the shuttles, and they would get a charge every time the shuttle came back and forth. But, when you look at it, you think, one, how important it is to the airport's budget, let alone, and it's a way too for communities around an airport, as we deal with things like revenue diversion and not being able to take money directly off the airport and spend it. That is a way that, associated communities can produce revenues. I'd say kudos to your idea there, because, it is something that once built, and to your point, doesn't need a ton of maintenance.
Just closer you can get to money falling out of the sky.
Right. Literally.
It's literally. Right. $100 bill splatter, but the money goes in. The money goes into the
No, but you know what? And also too, if you're a user, it's competitive price point comparative to other facilities. Like, I've paid a lot more to park in a surface lot that's crap, where you're not getting some of those, everybody's always friendly. They're nice. The shuttles are clean.
The funny thing about
bathrooms are nice.
The funny thing about that is Rahm Emanuel was mayor of Chicago at the time.
Yeah.
And that part, it's pre-flight parking as a brand, but it's actually Inner Park.
Yeah.
Which is a national, everyone knows parking spot.
Yeah.
Right. Because they got the black and yellow. And this
Yeah.
is Inner Park. That's the P with the arrow down.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of interesting, because if you go downtown, so you see the P with the arrow down.
P with the arrow down.
Where to go.
Makes sense.
To park.
Right.
You know where to park.
Right.
You know where to drive in. It was Inner Park. And once Inner Park announced it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they had it planned.
Right.
But Rahm Emanuel, very quickly after that, came out and announced what is there now.
Right.
Well, across the street from where my wife works.
Yes.
Is the ground transportation center, where you take the people mover and you have the rental cars and the, remote parking.
Yes.
And all that. It was like, and I used to, at the time, it was between Rosemary Andolino and Jamie Reed, but I used to needle Jamie Reed. I was
Right.
like, yeah, we announced, and then old Rahm got it, because Rahm was the one that hired her as the commissioner of Chicago Department of Aviation. Yep. I used to know, like, yeah, old Rahm couldn't, couldn't stand not getting that revenue from Interplane. All that money went into Schiller Park. It was and trivia answer. From that time, no multi-level private parking garage has been built.
Wow.
Chicago built the center there with the rental cars and the multi-story. That's what they should have. They should have built that long before some private company. Yeah. I mean, it was to my benefit, so Schiller Park's benefit.
So the parking garage is in Schiller Park, not
Schiller Park.
Okay. And so you had that project in Schiller, and then you moved to Des Plaines.
Yeah.
So I guess one thing with it, and I to be fair to that garage, because I've parked in the one at O'Hare, and you might be able to prearrange. I'm not sure. My experience with it is I have just gone again, and maybe you can, and then you're like, oh, the garage is full. But with yours, I know it seems real simple. You can pre-book a spot on a floor.
You get points.
Right. But then you have a guaranteed spot. I'll say
you get a better rate.
Yeah, it's possible that you can do that at that garage. I don't know, but if you can, I didn't.
Yeah, I don't use it that much because
all I know is I've gone there a couple times, and I'm like, it's full. Then you end up on a surface lot somewhere, and again, to be fair, there could be an online reservation system, but you don't get the bottles of water. I know that much. And that train,
unless you're me,
it's a question mark if the train's running. You may be getting on the bus. Oh yeah, a couple bottles.
Bus drivers are very nice.
Yeah, no, they are. Everybody's very nice over there. Yes, very nice. Sometimes
that illustrates, what we call the ecosystem of airports,
right,
and economic development with O'Hare modernization, and it was needed parking.
Yeah,
so you get that, which benefited Schiller Park, but then also, like you say, the parking garage that the city of Chicago built at the end of the People Mover gets full.
So you're fully at this point engrossed into your civilian life. You're not in the military anymore. You've moved to Des Plaines, and you're enjoying at least the government side to it. And then I know Des Plaines wasn't the last stop before your current role.
Yeah, I was a city manager out of Gilbert.
Gilbert.
For a while.
And then what actually brought you into aviation? Like what was it? What was the moment?
Well, it's funny. This job opened up.
Yeah.
The board and the executive director kind of invented this job out of thin air. And the human resources person, who had been a human resources person in Des Plaines, called me up and said, she was fairly new here. She called me up. She said, "Hey, they've got this economic development job at Chicago Executive Airport. You should apply for it." And I basically applied just because she asked me to.
Did you know what it was? I mean, did you know like the airport?
The job. I knew the airport.
You did know the airport.
Yeah, I mean, here when there used to be a movie, drive-in movie,
theater
on the corner of Henson. I came here with a group of friends. That were, you know.
Do you know what movie you watched?
No.
We have one employee here whose last two movies was The Shadow and Fred Flintstone, the Flintstone movie. I think the one with John Goodman, which would have been probably the 90s. You know that, gentleman.
Yeah.
You don't remember the movie? Interesting.
I don't remember the movie.
Okay. Fair enough.
That was a while ago. Well, but I do remember coming to the 94th Aero Squadron restaurant.
I came to the restaurant.
I was on the airport.
Okay.
And ate a couple times for lunch.
So you knew about it.
So, yeah, I knew. I said, yes, at Powaki. I knew generally where it was. Oh, I'd been lunch there for the 94th Aero Squadron.
And you had some experience working with O'Hare.
Yeah, with O'Hare.
But you had a ton of experience at this point in economics.
Yeah. And I was missing doing economic development around an airport.
Yeah.
O'Hare being the default.
Yeah.
Here's where I am.
Right.
But it's kind of a funny story because I applied for it and forgot about it.
Fair enough.
To the point where when I got a call from the executive assistant here, the day previous, I had my kids had went to a camp in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And we would get their camp registration, and then they had to fly to Greenville Spartanburg to GSP. So we would register them for camp, and then I would open a new browser and go to Southwest because they had a direct flight.
Yeah.
That way, I would open the browser and I would book their tickets.
Yeah.
Just they're going. And I know what flight. I knew we knew what flight they were on and everything, and the camp had a bus. So I did that the night before.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, that worked with us, who's still around the area, she called me up. I was like, "Oh, I'm calling Jennifer. I'm calling from Chicago Executive Airport." And my first thought was, why is Midway Airport calling me about my kids' flights to Southwest?
Right.
Southwest to GSP.
That seems fair.
I mean, that's where my
it's in your head. Yeah, right.
I'm like, why are they calling me about my kids flying down to GSP? And then I'm like, oh, that's right. I applied.
I applied for a job.
For that job.
That's right. And you could immediately switch and was like, oh, yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you did call. Yeah.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah, you sound a little surprised. I was like, totally forgot. So and they're like, well, we'd like to have you, phone interview. I'm like, you get called. You're like, why not? On my lunch hour.
Yeah.
I said, hey, on my lunch hour, I'll sit in my car and I'll, eat a Big Mac or whatever. And, I'll chat. So the executive director, Jamie Abbott, who's out in San Diego now, and our previous, Court Harris, our previous chairman of the board of directors, we got on the call and everything went well. And they said, why don't you come and interview with the full board? And okay. I came in. I was not in a job hunt.
Right.
It just seemed really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So okay. And I interviewed, and they gave me an offer, and it just seemed like the right thing.
If you were, let's say, like some younger folks that watch this or listen to this, they could be listening to. I mean, they don't want to look at us. It's quite possible. It's quite possible. If you're like a Kevin Spitz type and you're just a listener, you're not really.
Kevin's up again.
We're gonna bring him up. You're just a listener in this, a background player. So, in that, how did you, besides like kind of the O'Hare stuff, how would you prepare for that, or did you kind of take it as, I know economics, I know how to build stuff, I know how to generate interest, I can apply that to any field? I mean, how did you approach it knowing that you never worked at an airport before. And I don't know how they looked at it here. Was it more like, we don't care if you've never worked at an airport. We're looking for someone who can build stuff, get people in, get people interested. Is that how you approached it?
And I fight. I don't fight it, but coming to the airport, it was really about the operational aspect of being on an airport.
Right.
But I had a head start.
Yeah.
I knew what an RPZ was because we have,
You had one in Schiller
Park, yeah. So I knew a lot of the language. I knew the basics.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wasn't hired to be an operations person.
Right.
I didn't need to know,
right.
How to change out, to LED lights or how to, how to repair a wigwag or how to do this stuff. I mean, I didn't know
what a wigwag is.
God bless people who do that.
Wigwag sounds like a doohickey.
Yeah. Think of it.
You got a wigwag right there.
Yeah.
I brought one just in case this went a different way. Just in case. Yeah, you never know when it's not. I even put a bottle of water by your chair.
You never know where you're going to be brought to tears. I've worked for him a long time. You never know.
Hey, I may have come to tears in here.
You are prepared. I have to get you.
I try. I got try to make a nice setup for you.
That's a real preparation. But no. So the skill set. You should literally just listen them off.
Yeah.
The skills that I had and the interests that I had.
Right.
Were all in place.
Yeah.
And the operational needs. I learned the difference between a BRL and an RSA.
Right. Right.
To the point where I need to know it.
Yeah.
I'm not an engineer here or an aviation planner per se.
Right.
But when the engineers, draw the BRL line or the RSA line,
right,
I know what it means. And I can't put a hanger any closer than that.
Yeah.
Which is important around here because we are really, really tight around here.
Right.
As far as development goes.
We are very tight.
But it just interested me and it still interests me. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I've always been interested on why are things where they are.
Right. Well, it's for me, I was going into radiology because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Radiology.
I was going into radiology. Yes. Realized I wasn't smart enough. No, really, I was part of it. I actually did a short stint at the hospital. I worked for the airport. I also did some work for Midwest and Great Lakes Airlines. And one of she was a station manager for both because it varied whoever had the essential air service contract. Her husband was a radiologist, and I was going into it at our community college. And he's like, yeah, come over. We'll do it like our internship. We'll take you around, show you stuff. I didn't realize, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, broken bones. I grew up in rural Michigan. If at that time it was, okay, am I going to be a prison guard? Or prison guard, or
that's pretty close to what you're doing.
Yeah, right. Unless I got the tissues.
Yeah, except whiskey.
Well, that could be in prison.
Yeah, I could get you to prison.
This could be toilet bowl whiskey. But
something like that. But go on.
Yeah, and I was working at the airport, and at the time I was like, that didn't work out. In my mind I'm like, okay, broken bones, but no, there was a lot of bodily fluids that went along with it that I didn't expect, just because, people are hurt and you're putting them into and it just wasn't my thing. And so then I was like, oh, I'd be a pilot. It was atrocious money wise. It's like, okay. And so glamorous. Yes. No, it's switched. So that's good for people that fly, but
airport manager is a glamorous job.
No, glamorous it is. But so for me, I was like, at that moment, then I was like, okay, this is my track. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go into airport management. I want to be an airport manager. That's what I want to do. And so here I am.
You didn't weave.
Didn't weave.
You got in the track, and you're on the track.
Made it where I want it to be. Now it's nowhere but downhill. But so with that, for you though, or people that kind of get into it, maybe not mid-career, but
weave into it.
It's always interesting to me because if you're doing a career shift, because you do see it a lot in our industry, especially at, even larger airports where people just, either they're working for the city already or they're working for, they're like your track, they're in municipal work. Airports are government, generally speaking.
It's not basically a public works department.
Yeah, it's not too far of a leap. But
we've hired people here from public works department,
right, and people from here go to public works departments, right? It's kind of and when you work for like a full city, right? Like in San Jose, it's not uncommon to have people shift out of roles and go and work for another. Yeah, they same retirement system. They may shift into the airport, they may shift out. Right, exactly. It's same HR rules, same yeah. And so that's common, but like in your case, so you got the job here like day one, where you're like, okay, they want me to build stuff. For someone who maybe makes that leap or that change or goes to an airport, like how do you like, okay, I got to drum up business, right? I got to figure out.
Day one was a little different.
Okay. Day one's different.
Actually, day one was a little bit the same.
Okay.
Well, because I worked in municipal work.
Right.
The mayor changes and that changes your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
You're right on the politics. I get here day one. And Jamie Abbott. Jamie, if you're watching, man, we miss you, man. I'm not San Diego.
Is that saying you don't want me here anymore? Is it you miss?
No, no, we want.
I want to put you on the spot. No,
hey, Jamie didn't have to drive through this morning, so
he did not. Yeah, hey, he's enjoying sunshine, 7 degrees. Right, yeah, right.
But Jamie, hey, good to see you again. Hey, welcome aboard. Oh, by the way, the board has changed. The board that I interviewed with like 3 weeks ago. Whatever.
It's different.
Like, so-and-so says something, and the mayor, see you later, Sam.
Yeah.
So we got a new board member.
Right.
It's coming in a little bit.
Yes.
I was like, okay, I left city management to get away from municipal politics. Here I am.
It's everywhere.
And then the first activity around here was our master plan.
Yeah.
Master plan. I have a degree in urban planning. I can do a master plan.
Plan's right in the word.
Well, the big push was to extend 1634 runway.
Yeah, man, that's
either to the south,
right,
and take out a whole bunch of apartment buildings.
So you leaned on
take out a whole bunch of people's houses and schools.
So you leaned on that experience of the O'Hare modernization, what not to do.
Well, yeah, it was controversial.
Yeah.
So I didn't come right into what we're doing now of actually, attracting. I came into,
let's get the plan together.
Yeah. So we had to finish the master plan and so we had, the public hearings and all. If you've been through a master plan, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it had a whole lot of pain because for some reason people didn't want their houses bulldozed like they had been bulldozed by O'Hare in Benson. That was part of the issue. No, that was part of the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every night we were watching on TV.
Yeah.
I would drive over into Bensonville.
Yeah.
I mean, these houses, like they pulled the windows out. I think they like sold the windows and doors, and they did it. I think whoever did it just to kind of, block busting.
Yeah.
Where you make the block and you're the one holdout.
Yeah.
And you look around and you go, oh man, I don't want to live here anymore. So you
sell. Right.
So people had months. Oh, Bensonville, and the Bensonville mayor, I won't let that.
Yeah.
And here we are talking about extending the runway.
So you knew right out when you were told this assignment day one, you were like, oh, this is going to be an undertaking to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very controversial right out of the gate.
Did you find it fun though? I mean, master planning can be, it probably at least tickled some of that inspiration you had to get into urban planning, right?
Yeah. Well, the nuts and bolts of it was, what are we going to put where?
Right.
Where are we going to put hangars? Where are we going to put terminals?
Especially like you had said earlier, an airfield like this, where it's really kind of you're designing what's already been designed. You had to what your son said, rip stuff down to build new stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of
and
green
then you
space.
Really have to have a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in a green field wide open, it's like, okay, well, bulldoze that.
Right.
I mean, I'm being facetious, but
right.
Cornfield, new runway.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Wait till he harvests it and then put the bulldozer in there.
Right.
New runway. That's not what we do around here. We're down to the inch.
Well, it's interesting too because a situation like an airport like this. I've been places where like Stockton, California. Stockton, California had a lot of grandiose ideas in their master plan, and when you would look at it, you were like, to your point about farm fields. So like Stockton Airport, a lot of it's farm fields around it. You're like, I mean, a lot would have to change to even get to the point. Like, it's kind of like I always look at a master plan on a lot of airports like a wish list, right?
Yeah, that's
Like,
what it is.
yeah, if I could, but I would say at an airport like this, and I don't know, coming in and looking at it, did you know kind of like, okay, geographically, we sit in an area where this is probably more of a realistic plan. Like, and it's an aggressive plan. It's a lot of build out, but it also lends to, well, this is probably realistic. Where, some of the airports I've been at, you look at it and you're like, okay, we put a plan together, but unless somebody big moves out here, there's some manufacturing that happens. I don't really see us building.
Well, I knew there was market.
Okay.
To answer your question, it's all about market.
Right. So you already started figuring out some analysis.
Yeah, well, I had kind of lived that. I mean, my example for that was a big kind of a trendy. It's not Trader Joe's, but around here in Mariano's.
Used to wear bow ties, right?
What's that?
They used to wear the little bow tie, right? Or whatever it was, a little black tie. And wasn't that Mariano's?
I don't think so.
They didn't? I thought they used to dress up. That's what everybody told me here. And then when they sold, they started dressing down. But they used to be in like a little bow tie. Never mind. You would know. I would know.
No.
I want to ask the people here when we get off.
Mariano's come to display it. And everybody, it's more of an ethnic.
Yeah.
It's not a Trader Joe's kind of trendy kind of stuff food I can't identify. It's more like an ethnic, and
glass syrup.
And Des Plaines is very ethnically diverse.
Yeah.
Very ethnically. There are people from all over the globe in Des Plaines.
Yeah.
So everybody was so happy. And suddenly I was the economic development rock star. And people were like, how did you get Mariano's?
Right. Yeah.
And the ones that I knew really well, I would say, step one.
Yeah.
Mariano's wants to come here. Find a place to go. Sure. You're not going to attract the Mariano's. Mariano's doesn't want to go.
And our Mariano's just closed.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Well, but that illustrates the point.
Right.
Where people still want to come to this airport.
Right.
Makes it easy.
Yeah. And
there are other airports, the
right.
poster child for that in Illinois is Mid-America, east of St. Louis, which was built, I don't know, in the 80s, 90s. It still is nowhere close to capacity.
Yeah.
And none of the airlines want to go there. I mean, it's just the truth. I'm not saying anything that's not information. They don't want to go there. And they can they can do as many master plans and ALP amendments as they want.
Yeah.
And it just has not worked. Even Dulles.
Yeah.
Just 2 years ago, Dulles finally got the metro line.
Yeah. I think
Dulles has been there for 40, 50 years.
Right. Right.
Dulles in Fairfax County. It's taken that long. And finally now, Dulles finally now, after 40 or 50 years, has stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it finally got some hotel. You can actually stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
I remember flying to D.C., in the 90s, and there was nothing around Dulles.
Yeah.
You had to fill up your rental car.
Yeah.
If you had to turn your rental car at Dulles, you had to fill up like 3 exits before. And if you didn't, you were done. You had to pay the,
right,
$20 a gallon or whatever it was. And that's Dulles, Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
So here,
Trump International Airport, right?
Is that what it is?
Well, I saw there was a bill. I heard there was a bill.
but the bottom line was that people still want to be here.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because with Mid-America, I want to say I was down at Aerospace Summit that the downtown St. Louis airport put on. And I thought they said they were adding rail to that into St. Louis. But to the example that you made earlier, I mean, with the dehubbing and stuff where, you have, nowhere near market saturation in Lambert, I mean, it's, if you don't have the population base. So when you got here, master planning, doing an assessment of tenants, the airfield, is that because you probably, I would assume, right, had to think through your mind, okay, what they want to build stuff here. We have a master plan. We have orange boxes on a plan of putting something there, but what is that something? And so did you, the reason why I'm asking is that I think people that, want to get into the field, especially if maybe they're same as you, like, they want to do a career shift, to kind of have that undertaking. Cause you seems like you spooled up pretty quick with the knowledge base of where to find people, where to go, who to talk to put people into hangars or
Well,
facilities.
we have the benefit of that demand and the location.
Yeah.
I could pat myself on my own back, but the bottom line is that we're a great we never apologize for our location.
Right.
And we never apologize for getting a Balkan Award for days like this, snow and ice.
Right.
So, but yeah, you always, anytime you go into a new position, you have to assess what's going on. And I immediately did a really quick assessment of where our revenue comes from.
Right.
83% of it came from our 3 FBOs. And Hawthorne, now Ascension, was building hangar 21.
So that was underway when you came in.
Yeah, they had just broken ground.
Yeah.
So it was really good timing because we had the master plan. We just
Yeah.
to put the LPs around the orange boxes.
Yeah, the orange boxes.
The orange boxes are
hangar. Looks like this microphone.
The dark gray boxes are ramp. 6 years of college for an orange box and a gray ramp. Good on it.
Right.
But so I knew that the expansion of the demand was with the FBOs, and Ascension, Hawthorne at the time, had an option to build hangar 22, which they did.
Yeah.
Atlantic wanted to build hangar 43, which they did, and put a new fuel farm, which they did.
Yeah.
And we were looking at, the new guidelines came down from CBP, so we had to make decisions about building the standalone customs facility, which we did. So, 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
20% of your businesses, which for us are the corporate flight departments and the FBOs,
right,
charters. They're, numerically, they're 20% of the actual people that are here.
Yeah.
But they generate 80% of our revenue, and they were the ones that were going to drive growth. At which point, it was okay. Which orange box is next for you?
Right.
Well, and how do you get that built?
Yeah.
I mean, we have, for all the different, like you said, all the different ownerships of airports, we're a weird one. Where we're jointly owned by the Village of Wheeling and the City of Prospect Heights. Our board is appointed half by Wheeling and half by Prospect Heights, and the municipal boundary goes almost right down the middle of the airport. But they both have building departments.
Yeah.
They both have, stormwater guidelines and ordinances based on the Metropolitan Water Reclamation. All these things that I did kind of on the other side of the table.
Right.
So I became a liaison, an ombudsman. And in fact, it's kind of funny. It turns out, because I was in that municipal world for so long, both communities have people that I worked with previously when I was doing what.
It's always helpful.
Yeah. Well, it was helpful. I mean,
right.
I speak the language because I did it for years.
Right.
And they know me because they knew me from, Schiller Park.
Right.
Plains.
Right.
And they were in different communities. And
right.
we were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, that's where my, a different skill in my skill set.
Yeah.
Went from, okay, here's your orange box to how do we get this built?
Right. Right. Which makes a lot of sense. So as you started down that path and you were, looking at development, is there a project? Because I mean, you have a lot of feathers in your cap at this airport of projects that you've put together. But through that, I mean, what's for you? Is there a highlight in those projects that you like to look at? Is there one in particular, or is it just, kind of nuts and bolts, get it built? Get it right. Yeah. I mean, do you find, I mean, is there, when you look at kind of the development of it, I would assume for you with some of what interested you into, urban planning and stuff, there has to be some satisfaction to seeing your work actually physically completed and reality
Yeah,
there, right?
I have projects that I,
Yeah.
in Antioch and Schiller Park and Army bases
Right.
that I
Right.
can say, hey, I was
Right.
one person out of
Right.
100 that got that built.
Right.
I drive
Or
I park in the parking garage. I say, hey, I get gas with the
right. Maybe in an old hotel that's no longer there.
hotel. Well, the one project here,
Yeah.
and it's not a big revenue generator, but was the customs building.
Yeah.
Um,
No small feat for anybody who's built a customs facility dealing with customs.
well, we have challenges because we're landlocked.
Yeah.
We have challenges because we are right. If you're on Google Earth going, where are these guys talking about? We're right next to the river.
Yeah.
So we not only have floodplain, we have, even if you have a high water table, you can only dig. So there are disadvantages. We're in Class B airspace.
Right.
There are a lot of limitations here that are just the feature of being here.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you just do things that you take 2 steps forward and you take 3 steps back.
Right.
There was some delay in the siting of the customs building.
Yeah.
To the point where we went from a roving customs to customs being in one of our FBO's hangars. They rented them an office space.
Yeah.
To the 20, I should know this, I lived it, but I remember 2018, September 2018 guideline.
Yeah.
That the change of CBP that, okay, you have to have a standalone. And then I think it was 2019, they put out the actual guidelines for it.
Yeah.
For having this standalone, which made the costs, the requirements were skyrocketing. The smart people built the minute that came out, and they basically got a trailer and said, "There you go."
Yeah, right. Here's that.
And the folks that weren't so quick on the ball had to build according to the 2019 guidelines.
Roughly $1,000 a square foot. Is that what you've said before? More than 1,000, but very expensive for.
Well, and we started behind that.
Yeah.
The best location for it.
Yeah.
Was where we already had a hangar.
So you had to rip it down. So your son.
Well, we had 2 hangars. I brought him. Yeah, this place is scary. It is scary.
Yeah, right, yeah.
2 hangars in an L shape.
Yeah.
And the one that had to come down, better or worse hangar? The better hangar,
of course.
And then we had to disconnect them. And the previous air traffic control tower, and of course it was built, they had lead and asbestos. Had a whole lot of junk.
Yeah.
And I mean, the list just kept growing. So we didn't start at zero.
Right.
Hey, there's a cornfield.
Yeah.
Wait till the guy harvests the corn and then bulldoze it. We started at minus like $500,000.
It's interesting because you just clued me in. I was doing that tour yesterday. Where you stayed back, and we went over to customs, and we pulled up, and we're driving the line. I'm talking about it, and I look at the hangar that you're talking about, and I was like, it is an old crappy hangar, but that one wall looks amazing.
We had to rebuild.
I was just gonna say it clued me in because I was like, oh,
I've got the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I try not to activate my PTSD. So instead of starting at zero, we started at minus. It was I know it's over $500,000.
Yeah,
probably like 600 some dollars.
Yeah,
but it had to be done.
Well, and now you have the busiest user fee customs facility in our port district, right?
Award winning
as well.
We got an architectural.
You got an award.
Well,
a major award.
Here we don't chase awards.
Right. They chase us.
Well, we chase excellence.
Yeah.
We chase, and when we designed that,
right,
and the board was all in, even though sometimes we could have built a Soviet era 1960s cinder block wall facility.
Match some of the other buildings we have.
We could have done that.
Aesthetically pleasing. If you're in the Eastern European
hangar with a nice wall, and the rest of the hangar, it's like, but we did not do that.
It is a beautiful building.
It's a nice building, because that's what we do around here. We come up to, and we fulfilled all of the crazy CBP. If you're watching from CBP, I didn't say crazy, but they have their requirements. Got it. If you want a building, that's what you do. We did it, but it's nicer, it's more functional, it's more aesthetically pleasing, because our customers, when they fly in from wherever it is that they need customs clearance from,
Right.
they're tired, they're hungry, they just want to go home. They don't want to look at they don't want to look at something that looks like a prison
Right.
when they're having to be, inconvenienced yet again going through customs.
Right.
Well, I mean, you fly in, right?
Yeah.
When you fly internationally, you're like, just get me through customs as fast as possible.
Well, and I think the last I heard, our clearance time was around 7 minutes, average clearance out here, in and out.
We
Yeah.
did the very best we could, and a little extra, for a good, now suddenly it's become a term, customer experience. We didn't use the term
Right.
2019.
A sense of place.
Yeah, well, yeah. Suddenly it's a term,
Mhm.
but we wanted a good customer
Yeah.
experience, and it's paid off, both getting an award
Yeah.
and in clearances,
Yeah.
and in satisfaction is something that we're very proud of, and that's the standard we set around.
Well, and I think too, it's and you've brought this up before with the fact that you can come into Prospect Heights and Wheeling, and for all intended purposes, you look around like, oh, I'm in the U.S. But you literally just sign, welcome to the United States.
This is welcome to the United States.
Right? Yeah.
Prospect, if you're in actually Prospect Heights.
Yeah. Right.
Prospect Heights,
Yeah.
Wheeling, Illinois.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny to see it.
Yeah.
Especially those of us that fly into O'Hare.
Right.
It says, welcome to Chicago. It used to be there was a huge photo of
Yeah.
whoever the mayor was at the time.
Yeah.
Welcome to Chicago. Oh, this is what I want to see after being.
There's still a lot of the mayoral stuff within the terminals themselves, welcoming you into the terminal. I've never seen any of that. Even, the signage, but I don't know on the international one. Every time I've come back through O'Hare, I've done pre-clearance for wherever I'm coming from. And so I never have actually gone through international at O'Hare.
We have no photos at ours. It's just,
yeah, right.
Welcome to the United States.
George Sakas says, welcome to the United States. And welcome to the United States. No, it's interesting on my part, because you and I have worked together for 4 years now. And, I've seen you've put on the EEE Economic Conference. And, kudos to you, because you really are an expert within the field. And I think that, our peers, it resonates, they have you speak. I mean, I remember, I think the first year you and I were working together, I saw you speak up there on the economics of, airports and building. And you have a lot of really good examples now to reference and to look at, and successes for your job and what you've done with it.
Well, I kind of came from, aside from the weave.
It was a weave, yeah.
Well, I kind of came from the outside coming in.
Yeah.
And a lot of airport, it's not an insult. It's just a lot of airport people stay within the confines of the airport, looking out.
Right.
And they don't work out.
Right.
Inside.
Right.
The airport.
Right.
Whereas I literally went around the airport.
Right.
I was in Schiller Park.
Right.
I was in Des Plaines. I was in Gilbert's, which is northwest of the airport. then they finally let me in. Like medieval.
Yeah.
Let the drawbridge down.
Did you come in
the little Greek guy in? Yeah, he's earned his keep.
So you weren't in like a wooden horse or anything. You didn't. When they let you.
Hey now.
Hey, whoa.
Argonauts.
No,
to defend my ethnic honor.
It's always fun. It is interesting because, in our field, it's to me, I think some of the best organizations kind of have that collective viewpoint, like you just talked about, or I should say maybe eclectic, where it's just a bunch of different opinions that maybe it's nice and it's refreshing that if you don't have someone who's been in that forever, to the point you just made, that can look at it maybe from an outside perspective and give a different opinion than what people are used to. And I do find, because I would assume at this point, I mean, I don't know in your career, but it's, if you were a young you, do you think you would have wanted to get into aviation sooner than maybe you did, or was it the right time? Did you enjoy all levels of, I mean, if you were younger, would you focus more on it? Would you want to fly too, or no? Okay. Yeah.
No, I thought that it's no to aviation. It's
do
what you like doing.
Yeah.
I tried to do. We're a good example.
Right.
I was a I was a city manager. I could
Yeah.
have stayed in city management. I could have gone to a bigger town.
Tough job.
That's a
Tough
tough
job.
It's, as one of our local city managers said, it's the worst business model on the planet. And he's right.
Yeah.
Tough job because
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah. It's a tough job.
the different, you got police, you got guys running around with guns, you got people with big trucks that try to put fire. I mean, it's a
Right.
tough job to be on top of all that.
Yeah.
And could I have done that? Yeah. But I just,
Right.
I didn't like it as much as I like, being around an airport and building stuff.
Yeah.
Tearing stuff down, but building something new and cool. People can look at it and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
whoever built that was really
Right.
thinking, man." I get gas there.
Yeah.
It's not glamorous, but I remember traveling in the '90s. I traveled with Corps of Engineers. I traveled extensively.
Yeah.
And there were airports where it was like pulling to. You had to know where the gas stations were.
Right.
No, I mean it was
Yeah.
it was a stress inducing.
Yeah.
Because there were so few gas stations around many airports, like Newark.
Right. Yeah.
Newark, it was like pulling teeth to get gas at Newark, and you're in the middle of New York metro area. Now there are a bunch of gas stations.
Yeah. You're playing that game and trying to get the rental car in on F. Or are we talking about here?
Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah,
right. Get it in before you.
But it illustrates the fact that
Yeah.
Airports are like anything else, where
right.
And an airport is kind of an artificial environment, because it's a single use environment, like universities, like huge manufacturers. You're there for one, like an army. You're there for one purpose.
Right.
People need gas. They need to go to the doctor.
Right.
They need to buy eggs at 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
Their kids need to go to school.
Right.
And when you're in that single use,
yeah,
you're focused on the single use as well. You should be.
Yeah.
We don't want our guys that are out there we don't want to think about anything but snow removal right now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's what the operation, that's what they have to think about.
Yeah.
But a mile away, someone's got to get the kid to school. Someone's got to do this. Someone's got to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I know you were just in London for eVTOL, and you have seemed to struck up, really good relationships with a lot of the big manufacturers and people that are in that space right now. In your own personal opinion, how do you see that? If here as an example, but just also within our network, other airports, we have a lot of people that listen to this are at other airports. What's your viewpoint on electric vertical lift takeoff vehicles? How do you see it at the moment? Where do you see it going in your opinion? You've done a lot with it, so
you took a right turn on me there.
Wow. I did.
Yeah, wow.
I did.
Goodness.
I'm jumping into new tech.
Hard right turn on the orange.
I'm going to jump into technology.
On the orange microphone. Hard right turn. I kind of have a macro answer for you.
Yeah.
One of the things when I give my kind of standard, eVTOL, whenever someone's crazy enough to ask me to come and talk about it, and I have a slide of, I think it's like 35 or 40 car companies that don't exist anymore.
Studebaker.
What's that?
Studebaker.
Studebaker's on.
Studebaker's on.
I try to put the ones that have, like Studebaker that has an S, so you have some, because some of them are like, there's no way you could decipher what it is.
Right.
So I try to get it where it has the name in it. You can the name.
Right.
And the reason I put that up there is I say, your great grandfather was driving one of these.
Yeah.
You don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about 200 and 300 eVTOL airframe manufacturer, 10 years from now, 80% of them won't survive.
Yeah.
And the reason and the way I know that is this slide. Because markets follow patterns.
Yeah.
And, the easy question and the logical question is, well, when are we going to have flying taxi? When's George Jetson going to get in them?
Right.
But the more complex answer is, that market being more sophisticated is really an array of more technologies and more ways to get around. So without answering to answer the eVTOL question,
right,
I'll give you an oblique answer. 20 years ago, we didn't have electric bikes.
Right.
We didn't have bike lanes. We didn't have self-driving cars. We didn't have electric cars.
Yeah.
We didn't have hybrid cars. We didn't have, monster SUVs. We didn't have little urban cars, smart cars, which haven't hit in the U.S., but there are a lot of things that, between walking and driving a big vehicle with an internal combustion engine, which is pretty much what we had in, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Now suddenly we've got all the other things.
Yeah.
We've got the, the electric bikes. Well, we got the electric bikes that you can, pick up somewhere and, your account.
Right.
Big on college campuses and then college students throw them all over. But anyway.
In the Lake Michigan?
In the Lake Michigan.
Hundreds of them?
I guess they charge your credit card. I don't know how it works.
Your credit card.
My credit my kid's college is nowhere near me. So where we have these, interim new ways of getting around on the ground with new technologies, brand new technologies, and we're still working it out.
Yeah.
Every time one of these, it's Waymo,
Mm-hmm.
It stopped,
right,
in the middle of a fire, whatever. It goes, oh no. And they're going to work it out.
Right.
Sooner or later.
Right.
I'm going to get into one of these things, and it's going to take me where I need to go.
Right.
The first time, you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me into a fire scene. And like the 20th time, it's going to be like, whatever.
Right.
It's just part of life. To answer your question, eVTOL is going to be like that.
Do you picture these running in the 2028 Olympics?
It's supposed to happen in Paris.
There was supposed to happen in Paris.
It's supposed to go from de Gaulle to the Olympic Village.
Yes.
LAX is putting
right.
LAX is putting money on it that they're going to go to the Olympic Village. So I don't know. We'll see.
So if you in that kind of thought process, do you talk about the hard right turn I made there? I want to try to bring it in a little bit on this. When you look at it from your urban planning side of it, and maybe tier a recommendation of the airports, how are you planning eVTOL within the current mix of what we know exists at airports? Is it a thought for you when you look at things like
there's nothing exists in airports right now for it?
Well, no, but I know that. But what does exist is traditional, right? You have helicopters, you have fixed wing, you have. So when you're looking at, like you talked about your master plan, and let's say other airports are doing this, you're developing your master plan. How do you combat that component? Knowing, to your point you just made, it doesn't exist. The infrastructure doesn't exist. Electrical doesn't exist. You have a lot of, audacious thoughts out there from different airlines and stuff of operating these things. Do you plug it in at all into your planning, or is it how do you look at it? Is it, I have seen some airports that kind of take the wait and see approach. Like, let's see when it develops. Because there is, talk about technology, and a lot of times, right, like what's old is new again, like the Concorde, right? Sonic boom, and yeah, you have this, it was there, it was gone, it was what, 70s, I forget the exact year now that the Concorde first flew. But are you looking to plan that into anything that you're doing within the airport? How do you recommend that?
You plan with what you know,
right?
I mean.
Yeah.
You need some real estate for it. Okay.
Yeah.
You need electricity for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you put that? And how much room do you have available?
Yeah.
Is there the market for it?
Right.
And that, I go to way too many conferences to talk about this. And way too many seminars to talk about this.
Right.
And even when we get through the technical, which we know and is developing rather quickly.
Yeah.
But we don't know how that applies to our airport.
Right.
Anyone who says they do.
Right.
What's the market?
Yeah.
And who are you moving?
Right.
I mean, like our airport here, right? We're in a commercial area.
Mm-hmm.
We have in a residential, but it's a suburban area. What population density do you need to have that market work?
Right. Right.
I mean, these things are going to go from one place to another place.
Yeah.
What are those places, and what are you going to do? I
yeah.
say, it's the economic development, we call it being a victim of your own success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you build a restaurant.
Right.
It's a good example. In the building department, a lot of people, I want to build a restaurant. Okay. Well, I got this site, but it doesn't have a lot of parking.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give you a variance. What are you going to do if your restaurant takes off?
Yep.
You're good at, oh yeah, I can make, okay.
Walk and eat.
Let's assume. Well, let's assume
You're right.
you're a great chef, and
Yeah.
you're going to have, and you're all these people that are going to just swarm your place. Where are they going to park?
Yeah.
Why? You might have enough for now. How much more parking do you need when you were successful? So,
Right.
if you have enough for one eVTOL that goes between here and somewhere else,
Yeah.
yeah, I got enough parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a little electricity.
Yeah.
I got enough space. What if it's a success?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when we get back to, you get back to marketing 101. You have people that are early adopters,
Right.
middle adopters, late adopters.
Yeah.
Like your dad. I never buy the first model, first model of a car because they got to work everything out. And I bought the first model of a car, and the cruise control didn't work.
We had no money, so we usually bought the 50th iteration of a vehicle.
You were late adopter.
Right.
But it was worked out.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that used to work no longer worked, like Windows.
I bought a car, and it was the first model. The name was the same, but it was a totally new model.
I think you're just trying to squeeze in that you were actually a model for Volkswagen. Correct? You actually, you were.
That's all I'm going with.
That's why I at least wanted to sneak it in. You were a model.
2 photographs.
Yeah. Modeling career.
But the cruise control didn't work.
Cruise control.
Brand new car.
Yeah.
I ordered the car with a specification I wanted. Brand new car, brand new model.
What kind of?
Going up a lot.
What was this? What vehicle?
Ford.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was made by Mazda, but the cruise control didn't work. And I said, hey, cruise control doesn't work. They go, well, this is the brand new model. We're going to have to call Japan and find something. The problem with eVTOLs is they fall out of the sky.
Right.
You be careful about being an early adopter on some of this stuff.
Do you have any countries that you look at that you think that's probably where you'll see like they are leading in it? Like
everyone
Saudi
in
Arabia
space now. I mean, it's the Middle East.
Middle East. Okay, so that's
because they
like Dubai and that area.
Yeah, because they have a centralized governmental system, and if the emir
cut a lot of red tape,
no red tape.
Yeah,
the emir says, "No, I want to fly one of those. Make it happen." And they make it happen. I'm all for democracy, but certain things.
You want to test it out a bit?
Well, they make other people test it out. They test it out, but they cut through the red tape in product development, to put it that way, and when those of us that nerd out on this, and go to the bar after the seminars, that's what we complain about.
It's interesting because when you look at it and you talk like funding sources at airports, we talked a little bit earlier about parking, but a lot of it, and you and I know this, fuel revenue is a big producer for airports. Is it one of those things that you think, because you hear it all the time, the people that are like, oh my God, if it gets to the point, they're electric, utilities are regulated, all this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Your opinion, do you think, is that an issue? Do you think you figure it out?
Yeah.
So you
make money on this.
Right. So, but
airports, aviation in general, right?
Right.
We make money off rent, fuel, and fees.
Right.
Most of us rent and fuel.
Yeah.
And then some fees. We're going to get some rent. We're going to occupy some real estate.
Right.
But if you're an airport, everybody here, we have a standard rate.
Right.
Theoretically, everybody pays. So whether it's rented to you or me, I'm getting the same rent for it. So rent isn't really, some parcels a little more, some a little less, but the rent's not the thing. Fuel, we always looking. Okay, on the hangar, how much fuel are you going to buy? Oh, we know so much per square foot, whatever, blah, 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 fuel. Well, that fuel is electric.
Yeah. So
we're going to church. Some places not legal. Illinois is not legal.
Right.
right now. We can't even surcharge. We, as an airport, right now,
Right.
at this moment, in Illinois, cannot surcharge electric.
Yeah. Yeah. I was because of utilities. And so, because the other part to it too is, unlike traditional aviation, you know, unless you have the market for them, they don't have to be at the airport. When you talk about the commodity of what we are as an airport, you could be off the side of a street somewhere.
It's kind of funny because I was involved in this
Yeah.
during the grandpa days.
Yeah.
Uber Elevate is kind of because they had the Uber Elevate summits
Yeah.
before COVID,
Yeah.
which was a lot of marketing for Uber.
Right. Yeah.
And then after they divested, Joe, but that whole story, you can Google that all you want. But if someone says, "Oh, I've been in this since the days of Uber Elevate," you're a grandpa like me. Let's talk about the good old days of eVTOL,
Right.
But it's been ever since then. It's been proof of concept. The idea then was that it would be from airport to downtown and downtown to airport.
Yeah.
And that has kind of, we live by fads, especially when we're talking about something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
We all have an impression or an idea of what, oh man,
Right.
it's hard to get from the airport to downtown Tokyo. So if I just could fly over everybody else, that would be great. So that's my business model.
Right.
Oh, that might not be the business model for the rest of the world.
Right.
That's your inconvenience that you
Right.
projected onto
Right.
what you think should be a functioning
Right.
product.
Right.
Now, it seems like it's more event driven, more special events.
Right.
Especially because from Paris and like you mentioned, the LA Olympic, and they're looking more at, well, when you have an event where you have a lot of people
Right.
going to one place, you need to fly over the rest of the,
Yeah.
and so now it seems like, okay, but of course, what you get to very quickly, the people that are going to be flying overhead are the ones that have the most money.
Right. That's the way it always goes. Well, it's interesting too, because when you look at the kind of the most audacious, where people talk about like, within 5 years, so many, blah, 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 thousand of these. And I think to myself, I'm like, well, but the reason why it's a shortcut right now is the point you just made is most people can't afford to get on a helicopter and cut over everyone. But if you brought the economies of scale down to where more people could use it, it's kind of like the Kennedy. The Kennedy would be amazing if you and I weren't on it. You could just run
over, man.
Yeah. But what I mean by that though is the road would be just fine if you and I weren't on it. We can afford to be on it. If you and I can afford to be up there, then everybody's up there.
When it's commoditized,
well, it's no longer, you can't just.
It's no longer, it's just as convenient as what the Kennedy was.
Exactly. Well, because you can't, I mean, if you think about like to scale in like Chicago, you couldn't send thousands of those at once into downtown Chicago. It'd have to be on a schedule. So then you start to lose the time of like, oh, I'm saving. It's interesting. I mean, I'll be curious to see how it, continues to develop. And especially excited because I know you're on the forefront of it. You're on the Advanced Air Mobility Working Group and all that fun stuff in the States.
Well, this, I tell people this and they don't like it. The airframe manufacturers don't like it. It's just a better helicopter. That's what it is. It's just a better helicopter.
Yeah.
And like I was talking about with ground transportation.
Yeah.
Where you have the electric bikes and the,
right.
Waymos and it's technology between.
Right.
I can't fly, and I have to get on a full helicopter. I have to get on a Ranger. This is a more user-friendly helicopter.
Yeah.
More maneuverable, environmentally sensitive, quieter, maneuverable meaning quicker.
Yeah.
Helicopter. Uber Elevate, to your point about having it commoditized. Uber, that's probably the reason they got out of it.
Yeah.
Uber had a formula. I'm going to mess this up, but you'll get the general idea. Because Uber I always take the cheapest one because my boss is a stickler for taking the cheapest mode of transportation. He's really
not.
But that's a better story. It's a better
I know. It is.
I mean, I take whatever's cheap. I don't care. I just get me there, right? I just want to sit in the car and get my butt.
Exactly. You and I are on the metro all the time.
Yeah. So, but So they, the basic and XL, whatever what's the top, black?
I think it's black. Yeah.
I think it's black. Whatever the top tier of Uber was.
Yeah.
They were saying, well, if we could get eVTOL or AM
Yeah.
to, Uber Black plus 20%.
Yeah.
It'll go. It'll commoditize.
Yeah.
And then COVID came and they dropped the whole project.
Yeah.
So their hopes of I'm thinking that somewhere in wherever Uber was in California, wherever the headquarters is,
Yeah.
I'm thinking some number cruncher said, we're never going to get within 20%.
Right.
We're just not going to get.
Right.
Or at least we don't have the data to tell you we can do it.
Right.
So stop sponsoring, high cost conferences and that sort of thing, because it ain't happening.
Well, I do know that they lost my burrito in Seattle.
Uber?
They did. And it said it got delivered to me. And then they were like, oh, you don't have it? Well, they're like, what's the problem? What's missing? I'm like, it's missing.
Uber Eats.
Yeah.
One of this is to have, that's the fad now, is to have food delivery by a phone.
That is.
That was your option.
Alliance. I mean, you know what? I think it was a driver, and I think he threw it in the bush or took it home. But whatever.
Burrito, I would eat it. You know me, I love burrito.
And it's getting close to lunch. I know. I've kept you way long, but I'm going to ask you a couple more before I let you go.
We're almost at 3 hours and 16.
Yeah, right. People are going to be like, what is, well, the thing with it really is, you've given me so much crap about the podcast that I figured once I had you on it, I'm not going to let you go until, right. Yeah.
That was abrupt.
Well, it's kind of like,
oh, not crap. I gave you a motivational teasing.
No. What George likes to say to me is, I know you have it. I'll listen. I don't really listen. I'm not going to, I was like, you don't have to listen to it. No. I just hear you enough.
I want to listen.
You don't have to listen to it.
I want to listen.
You'll listen to this episode.
No.
You're not.
Why would I listen to this? I'm here. I already know what's in it.
I don't know. I mean, people are.
I want to listen.
Everybody always listens to their own episodes.
I want to listen to it. No, but it's just, no offense. You and I talk to each other all day long.
It seems fair.
Which is kind of funny. If there was a time. No, when I go on long drives is when I listen to it.
Fair.
But the funny part about it is, my car, like all of our cars, has Bluetooth.
Yes.
And my Bluetooth, it's a few years old, so it's kind of a dumb Bluetooth. So you get in the car and you start it, and there's a little delay.
Yeah.
And then whatever the last thing you were listening to comes on. So, we work here.
Yes.
And, let's say goodbye. Hey, Jeff, have a goodbye. Okay, see you later. Da, da, da. And my brain's on, okay, where can I steal someone's burrito or whatever?
Yes. Fair.
It's not really on airport stuff, oh, my kid got whatever, I do this, or I got to call my wife. And I start my car, and then your voice comes over.
That's all I've ever wanted.
There's however many speakers I have on my Hyundai, and it's like,
it's unnerving.
I just talked to this guy for 4 hours. I mean, I love talking to you, but at that point, it's just a little bit.
It's a bit much. I'm a bit much for everybody. But no, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anything I didn't ask you about your trajectory, or any advice, or anything you would want to give anybody that's either thinking of a career field in this, thinking of a switch, or even something unrelated? If you finally remember that movie you watched at the drive-in. What year was it? Maybe it was St. Elmo's Fire.
Well, contrary to what we have now, where we have a record of everything we do.
Yes.
There was no internet.
Yes.
Proliferation back then, so there's no record.
I watched Jerry Seinfeld.
I remember the girl I went with, and I totally lost contact with her. She's not my wife, before my wife, so I...
Okay, I was going to say, when did this line up?
What movie did we go to?
It seems fair.
Anyway, my dad used to say, free advice is worth what you pay for it.
Yes.
And he just asked me to offer free advice.
I would love free advice.
Well, the only free advice is what we have here on the airport. We have, plugged for the 100-year-old airport, we have an aviation academy, which is a joint venture between Austin Lewis University and our local high school district 214. And the students come on the airport.
Yeah.
They take it's like a capstone class of classes they've taken throughout high school. They end up here on their senior year. They get credit towards high school graduation, and they get 3 college credit hours for aviation. And the key word of that has always been exposure.
Yeah.
Because the kids say, kind of back to the original point, was, kids fly whatever. They fly once or twice a year.
Right.
And they go to the airport and they see people driving. Well, I don't want to be an Uber driver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's honest work, but if you're a kid, I mean, that's not,
Yeah.
if you aspire to, doing great things.
You had a steel burrito.
An interim thing, right?
Yeah.
Although it sounds pretty good some days.
Yeah, right.
They see the customer service. I mean, all these people serve a vital, but they look, oh, pilot. Ooh, pilot,
Yeah.
like you.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be a pilot.
Right.
That's a nice hat.
It's a beautiful hat.
Very responsible.
You need a hat.
Obviously,
especially when you're bald, you need a good hat.
Good hat.
You need a good hat.
Every day is a good hat day.
Every day is a great hat day.
It might be a good hair day, but it's a good hat.
I would have thrilled in the 1920s.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So
thrilled, thrived.
Well, and that's just their, that's just their experience, their exposure.
Yeah.
To aviation. They don't see the aviation attorneys,
right?
The airport managers, the aviation development people, the aviation engineers. I tell people when I talk to people, in life away from the airport.
Yeah.
And we kind of get into this conversation. I say, I talk to more civil engineers, attorneys, construction people than I do pilots. I rarely talk to a pilot.
It's like the village people.
Talk to a construction worker.
Talk to the police officer.
Yeah, I just had some plumbing work done in my house. Believe me.
Right.
With the construction worker. I wish one of my kids would be a plumber. Anyway, so for being in the field of aviation.
Yeah.
There are, you can be in the field that you like, since Kevin Spitz came up, we'll use his name in vain again.
Let's do it.
He's a civil engineer.
Right.
And we have a lot of great civil engineers around the area. And you interview them and they say the same thing. Okay, I like airplanes, but I had no idea that I was going to be working in civil engineering.
Right.
We just had our attorney team in yesterday.
Yep.
And first thing they tell you, we've been attorneys for however many years, and all we've ever done is work at airports.
Right.
And for young folks, they just don't have exposure to that.
Yeah.
And what we try to do here, and hopefully, I know other people at other airports, other areas of aviation, try to get youth. Because some people turn off. They say, "Well, if I can't be a pilot, I can't be anything in aviation." Whoa, time out.
Right.
What? You want to be an accountant?
Yeah.
You want,
right.
myriad things that can be done that you enjoy doing, that you want to do, and you just happen to do it in aviation.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good way to look at it. And like you said, you can, rather than it's just the pilot route, but that there's so many different jobs available within the sector and that touch the sector. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I would also say too, to Kevin Spitz, someone who is in aviation, has an extensive background of, we've all learned today, U of I grad, has still not been invited as a guest speaker to Kevin Spitz U of I course. I don't understand. He's getting older. It seems like crime of the century, if you're asking me. I don't know what he's got going on over there.
Sometimes you just have to keep on going.
It's unfortunate.
Life has disappointments.
It does.
And you just have to do the best you can with what you're getting.
Were these last couple of hours a disappointment for you?
No. Right. Not at all. Maybe it's the waft of the whiskey.
It could be.
No, very good. We're not anywhere near 3 hours.
We're not anywhere near 3 hours. No, we're not.
We're 2 hours.
We're over 2 hours.
Anyone who's outlasted, anyone who's come this far.
All right, thank you for that.
We have some awards in the conference room.
We do.
Catch out the,
Well, I'm working on
removal, but sat for 2 hours and 15 minutes with Jeff and George. You deserve an award.
Well, it's almost like a drive to Springfield with us.
Springfield.
We just didn't stop at Wally's for jerky, but
I love Wally's.
Yeah. Well,
but this is the one time that a participation trophy actually means something. So if you're still watching, good on you.
And if you're just listening, good on you too.
Good on you.
Because people like to just, maybe it's soothing, something to, people just want to relax. Listen to
in the background.
Right, exactly. Well, thank you so much, George, for
Thank you
coming.
for having me.
No, that wouldn't be. I know the
No
30
return
steps.
home.
Well,
25 steps.
you know, and you can come back someday and we'll talk about, you know, the stuff that we have going on, the stuff that we're working on, and who knows, maybe there'll be some
Well, you
shifts.
said that I give you crap, but the bottom line is that this is you're having fun with this.
I am having fun with it.
You're providing a value. No, well, this is good. No, it really is. It's a good thing. Good on you for doing it. You don't get any, all you get out of this is grief from me.
That's it.
And the satisfaction, you spend money on equipment, your time, and all that sort of thing. So
it's a lot of stuff, and I appreciate that.
For us myriad ways to give you a hard time, but it's really, and if it helps people,
No, I appreciate it.
Whether if it's someone that's been in aviation for 40 years and they appreciate this, or some young person that's just kind of starting out in life, and I think this this podcast gives them, in an informal way, but valuable, better informal, a way of just hearing people's stories and something that is, all these stories I've listened to all of it. I've listened to a good amount of it. They're very, very relatable because it's real people talking about real experiences.
Well, to your point, I think, a lot of times in every industry, not just our industry, that people want to put out the best version of themselves, and progression is not linear. I've talked about on this podcast, moments where, I've been fired from a job and, you're like, where am I going to do? What's the next step for me? Why am I, where is
putting up with these employees? Where
is that rail bridge that I could throw myself off of down in Moline? But, I think that, one of the things, for me and the side to it, because, as you get along in your career, you're like, well, I don't know, I feel like there's unintended barriers in our industry. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, you don't get too far with conversations. And even us in the industry, there's so many people that are relatable and have great stories, but there's also a population within our industry that, shut down any conversation, and, everything's perfect, it's fine. And I wanted to do it. I got into it. Boom, there we go. And it's like, well, that doesn't really help anybody because that's not how it went. I mean, it's a lot of trial and error.
I believe what I said earlier when you asked me, they're not doing something they like.
Yeah, right.
If you do something you like,
right,
you're more than happy to go for 2 hours and 24 minutes talking about it.
Exactly. Well, I will end because you got me a compliment. I've been fishing for it for over 2 hours. I finally got it. So I'm satisfied. That's what I needed. But you know what?
So I mentioned my reviews coming
right. I typically what I end up doing is I record, the intro and the ending, and I put it all together. But with the new cameras and watching it and the software and all this fun stuff, I'm going to end it with you on here. I'm not even going to come back and record anything after this. It's just going to be ending right now. So look at that. It's a new day for all of us. If you like what George has to say, if you have questions for George, DA Podcast, or if you don't, you can shoot us a message at dapodcast85@gmail.com. You could be a guest like George here. And I know he's very open about what he does. So if anybody has any interest in that, I'm sure you would be open to talk about it.
Come for a tour if you're nearby.
Or come for a tour. And we have the best swag around.
Although I can't use my lines, so just tell me you listen to this. I can't use any of my swag.
Right, exactly. Right. Well, I guess until next time, we'll see you down the runway.
Down the runway.
Down the runway.